All right, we're going to call our meeting to order. We do have a few people trying to make it in, but for the most part, everybody's in. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd. It is 9 o'clock. Invocation today will be led by Pastor Rick Haynes from the New Life Church. And I'd like it if you'd make your way up to the diocese of Pastor Haynes. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Adamczak. All rise if you're able to do so. Hold that microphone.
Okay, like this. Lord God Almighty, we thank you for this day that you've given us. Lord, we ask for your wisdom, for your peace. God, we thank you for your guidance for each and every one. Thank you that today will result in your will, your purpose, and your plan to be accomplished for this county and all its residents and individuals involved. We give these thanks to you in your precious name, and we say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Rick, thank you very much. Came all the way from Texas to do that today. No, I'm teasing. And Commissioner Adamczak, we appreciate you too. We're going to recess the Board of County Commission meeting, call to order our solid waste collection and disposable district. Do we have any of our other mayors in the audience that serve on that? And seeing none, we're going to go right into adopting the resolution setting the waste assessment and user fees for fiscal year 24-25.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the resolution setting solid waste assessments.
Would you read it by title? The resolution?
I don't think he heard you.
I did. This right here, adopting.
You can do it on page 11 up on top.
It just says Resolution 2024-68.
I got it. Okay. Resolution number 2024-068, establishing solid waste special assessment and user fees.
Do we have proper motion? Do we have a second? Yes?
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion at hand? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Now we're going to go back to our Board of County Commission meeting, and our first thing is our presentation for Lori Parker. Ms. Parker, if you'll come forward. And we have the Employee of the Month and Employee of the Quarter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For this presentation, we're here to recognize the Employee of the Month first. For the Employee of the Month for June is Katrina Williams from Parks and Recreation, if she could come up here.
She's here.
Oh, hey. I've worked with Katrina. She's been here 20 years, and I've worked with her since then. She first started with Sweet Owens, as you all know, and Cheryl when they worked there. They hired Katrina. And Katrina has been really great at what she does. Even back then, she just grasps to everything. So if you need to know anything, that would be Katrina, especially way back to 20 years ago. Julian?
Thank you, Commissioners, for giving us this opportunity to highlight Ms. Katrina. Lori said it best. She's been here for many years and does a wonderful job. She is the heart of that department without a doubt. She's the one that helps parents through registrations and us through staff needs, and she's just the first one to jump in and figure it out. It doesn't matter what it is. She's always the one there and opening the doors with a smiling face and answering the phones and figuring out how we can fix it. So we are excited to have this opportunity to just tell her thank you and how much she's meant to us.
Good deal.
Thank you, Katrina.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone, and I am so grateful and honored to be Employee of the Month and Employee of the Quarter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, I'm going to announce the Employee of the Quarter now.
I think she already did.
The Employee of the Quarter is Katrina Williams.
Yeah. Big surprise. That was a surprise, yes.
She is presented with 2 certificates, and also the Employee of the Month is $100 check from all of you. to her, and the employee of the quarter is $500.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I know who's buying,
You're welcome.
who's buying lunch today, I wonder. Come on up and get your picture taken. Should we stay up here, you think?
Up to you, sir.
Yeah, we'll stay up here. Parks and Rec people, come on. Family? Congratulations. How you going to hold all that? You need help. Hold them checks. Ooh, ooh. Everybody in? Good.
All right. On three. 1, 2, 3. And don't move.
She said don't move, and y'all just done, you done did it.
All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. That's it. You're good. You can move.
This next presentation, we'll need a bigger camera, just like with Katrina, but we're here to present the retirement plaque for Todd Adams. Todd Adams,
Come
come
on
on
down.
up, and your family.
Yep, yay.
Todd has over 33 years of service. He started in 1991 with Public Works, and he's been there ever since. He and his wife were both in the DROP program. Karen worked at sanitation, as all of you know, and she retired, was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago. So now they're both retiring. So congratulations on your retirement. Did you want to say anything?
I'd like to tell everybody thank you, but most of all the guys behind me. Because 20 years I was a supervisor. We spent many nights and holidays out moving trees and washouts, and those guys behind me, we was right there together through all of it, through the complaints, happiness, but we always got it done. We worked every storm, every major storm the county had, and we did it with bells on. But I would like to say thank you to you guys, but mostly to the men sitting behind me back there. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Hey, Todd. Sean, hang on a minute. Commissioner Pickens wants to say something.
Yeah, I'd just like to say something. When I was elected 8 years ago, Todd was my district manager down in the South End. And I felt that Public Works was going to be one of the departments that I had a lot of contact with, especially because we had just had a hurricane and didn't know in 12 months we'd have another one. So I went out to the yard across from Huntington landfill and met Todd and introduced myself. And we had a discussion, and I told him, I said, one thing I will never do as a commissioner, I will never tell you to do anything. He said, well, that's good. I said, why? He said, because I wouldn't do it anyway. So anyway, I just want to thank Todd. His knowledge, even though he's not from the South End, was fantastic. He knew a lot of the residents. He knew so much about the drainage, the roads, and everything, and you were a pleasure to work with. So I hope you and your wife do a lot of traveling and a lot of seeking waterfalls, as my wife and I do. So good luck and thank you. Okay?
Sean?
I want to personally thank Todd because he's been an inspiration and he's been very guiding for me coming in from a smaller municipality to here. And you've been a team player, an inspiration, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Todd was always very approachable when I got into this position a little over a year ago. His knowledge of everything that we do in Public Works is great, and he was good at helping a new person that was stepping into a leadership role and guiding them and helping them with make decisions, and he will very much be missed. So I appreciate you very much, Todd.
You want to want to take a picture of your family and then your guys from Public Works? How do you want to do that? This is your show. You decide. Okay. Everybody in?
Not yet.
Matt, you want to be in? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. On three. 1, 2, 3. Don't move. Alrighty. Get real close.
Hey, Todd, y'all might want to take 2 steps forward and bring them in the back of you. There you go. Y'all come.
Can we get
Get
the
in the
really
back.
tall guys in the back?
Taller ones in the back.
Can we get some going up the back?
All right. Y'all tighten up a little bit. They're going to go, why is he up there?
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Are we good? Good. Well, congratulations, Todd. Congratulations, Todd.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations, brother. Enjoy it.
All right, Todd, congratulations. That clears out half the room right off the bat. Next item, get out your pen and paper. You're going to be tested on this after it's over with. But item B, Julianne Young. She's got our countywide project update.
Thank you, Chairman. As a reminder, this is not meant to be an all-inclusive list of every project or initiative underway by county departments. It is intended to be a brief update of those projects deemed most important to our citizens, our administration, or our county commissioners. With that, we begin with an update with Port Putnam. The Port Development Plan is currently in data collection mode. Port staff is pursuing multiple funding sources to finance the bulkhead replacement at Port Putnam. The animal control facility, the main office building, and both kennel buildings are currently under construction. The Jerry Beadenball Park playground fence, shade, and concrete slab have been installed. Concrete benches are on order. John Theobald Sports Complex turf refurbishment is underway. The light project is complete. South Putnam Sports Complex, the LED light project is complete and turf refurbishment is underway. East Blacka Community Park, the basketball court resurfacing is complete. Exercise equipment and the gym, as well as the shade, have all been installed. Johnson Community Park, the basketball court has been resurfaced and LED lights have been installed. The shade structure is complete and the old swing set has been replaced. The volleyball court has been relocated. Fort Gates Ferry Landing, the FDOT bridge report was obtained For the landings on the west side, Public Works is reviewing the required repairs to determine the best course of action to allow for pre-opening of the ferry. St. John's Avenue resurfacing, Palm Avenue to CSX crossing at the Palatka Fire Department. The infrastructure is in place and reconstruction is well underway. Dirt to pave project 2022. The bid for Phase 2 roads, which includes Fisherman Road, Creekside Road, Edgewater Road, Paradise Point Road, and Paradise Circle, are due July 29, 2024. Dirt to pave project 2023. Survey and design in-house and project contains roads in Saratoga Harbor, Gibbs, Ingram, Lakeview, Butler Drive, Eagles Nest, Redfish, Ridgeline, and the Ridgeline Road. The surveyor completing the 2 final roads to send a design. Design of the remaining roads is 90% complete. East Putnam Drainage and Flooding Mitigation Phase 4, the contract between Putnam County and the lowest bidder, SE Diving, is fully executed. Once the payment and performance bonds have been recorded, the notice to proceed can be issued. St. John's Avenue Drainage Improvements, State Road 19 to County Road 309C. Segments 1 and 2 are substantially completed. Segment 3 infrastructure is underway. Segments 4 and 5 are substantially completed. The project is on schedule with a completion deadline of December of 2024. County Road Resurfacing Project, State Road 20 to State Road 100. The contract for the project was awarded to Anderson, Columbia. County Road 315 Resurfacing Project, design from State Road 20 to the county line. The surveying is substantially complete. Port Buena Vista Wastewater Treatment Plant Conversion and Sewer Main Extension. Construction is 100% complete. We are waiting for final as-built to close the project out. Paradise Point Sewer Hardening System and Generator Installation. We are at a standstill. We do not want to sign the amendment, and they do not want to modify the amendment until we finish the job. We are negotiating. East Palatka Septic to Sewer Project Phase 4. We have 30% design under review in May. Estimated date of completion is October 29, 2024. East Palatka Water Plant Retrofit Project. Installation is 100% complete. We are waiting on the final as-built to close out the project. San Mateo Water Expansion Project. We are approximately 85% complete and are ahead of schedule. The project completion date is scheduled for December 12, 2024. North Putnam Drainage Project. The project is working through design. South Putnam Drainage Project, bid 2414, came in over budget and funding expires in 2025. Public Works is discussing how to proceed with additional DEP funding. East Palatka Water Main Expansion, ARPA funded. The pre-construction meeting was held 6/18 of 24. Putnam County Water Infrastructure Project, U.S. Army Corps of Engineer. New project manager at the Army Corps has approved the plans, and we are working through the EA study. Ash Street Drainage Project, paving is expected to be completed the week of this week. Rio Vista and Overlook Point Sewer Project, they're approximately 90% complete and are ahead of schedule. The project completion date is 10/15 of 24. HMGP Putnam County Boulevard Lift Station Generator Project, the design is in progress. HMGP Paradise Point Retention Pond, the executed funding agreement has been obtained and a proposal for design services is under review by the county engineer. County-wide resurfacing fiscal year 23, the roads were awarded to 3 contractors and all contracts have been fully executed. Asphalt resurfacing 24, the design is in progress. The central landfill, the construction of the new sanitation office is about 80% complete. At the landfill, the scale house outbound scale project has been completed. And again, at the landfill, the tower grinder project is complete. Thank you.
Did everybody get that? Okay, good. A lot going on. Commissioner Turner, yes.
Ms. Young, could you expand a little bit on what the negotiations are going on between us on the generator on the hardening project?
So the original application, they put in for a 200 kW generator to run 2 7.5 horsepower pumps when it was designed. It is not needed. It was a huge astronomical number. It came before you guys before. We asked them, can we modify the scope, bring it down a little bit, put a generator in that's appropriately sized so it's not truly, I mean, in no better terms, a waste of money. Also, the design they had for sealing off the manholes in the area, there was a much cheaper alternative to be done than what was designed. We took it before them. We're trying to get them to change the scope of the project so that it actually costs less money.
When you say them, who is them?
It was through FDEM, Florida Department of Emergency Management. The problem is our 25% match of the project is less than what we would spend on a generator if we were just to buy it outright. So we'd spend more money on our 25% than what it would be if we just went out and outright purchased a generator and put in the project. And we're trying to get them to change the scope of the project so that it doesn't cost us that additional 75%, and we end up paying more money for a generator.
Okay. And you'll keep us in the loop on that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
You may.
Also, JR, you and I have had this conversation before. Is it time that we started having it again about how many project managers that we have in relation to the amount of projects that we got going on? And my question would be in that is, are we holding the projects up because we don't have enough people to actually manage the projects? So are they waiting on us to be able to get our part done, or are we still treading water or keeping up with them on that?
Oh, I would actually say our engineering department's up on a plane. I mean, I don't think that at this time that I wouldn't tell you that we needed another project manager. Some of the stuff is starting to come out, and the closing documents are getting completed. So their projects are starting, some of them are starting to wind down as we're ramping up for the next one. So at this point, I think we're flowing very well. Mr. Knowles may have a different opinion, but we've really made some huge progress with the additional staff that we have with Mr. Knowles on staff. We were able to put a drafts person that's able to complete whenever he makes a set of plans, be able to put them on paper so he can stamp them and move them along. At this time, I would not say that we need another project manager. Just some of the stuff, it just takes time, because every time we submit back to FDEM, they come back with their comments. We have to answer them. So it's kind of just volleying back and forth right now. But we're going to come up to resolution. And it may be at some point just to say, you know what, we're cheaper just to buy our own generator and just shut down the whole FMGP project, because at some point it's just, we're spending bad money. And that's kind of what we were trying to get away from here.
I wasn't just talking about that one particular project, and I do realize that bringing Scott Knowles on board was a tremendous asset to the county, and that's really speeded up a lot of the projects that we've got going on. But I was just wondering if we needed to look into another project manager or something. So you'll keep your eye on that and let us know if you think that changes or whatever.
The area that we really struggle in today would honestly be in surveying, because I mean we have so many projects out in front of our surveyors. As we're trying to do these in-house, him and his team can only cover so much ground. So I mean, as we're waiting on the design for a dirt to pave list, besides spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to the street, we're able to do it in-house and we can put more money in the construction. He's just behind because he can't physically get to the locations fast enough. So that's been our struggle truly, is either we're going to have to hire an engineering firm to do some catch-up work, or he's going to have some help in the future.
So I think that would probably be the not too distant future, if that's where the slow up is. I mean, I've said many times up here that one of my frustrations is how long it takes to get something done in the government. And so if there's something that we can do, a key position, a key something that's got us held up, how about let's looking into that and seeing if we can't speed some of this stuff up.
Yes, sir. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any other comments by the board? Okay, we're going to move right into our planning and development. Do want to bring your attention to something that we're going to start doing. If you notice, there's item A, B, C, D, and E. Item A is the second of 2 readings. Item B is the first of 1 meeting. The other rezonings, C, D, and E, are 1 of 2. So what does that mean to you? Anything over 10 acres, we hear it today, we can't act upon it. We're just going to sit on it, and then we're going to make a motion and set a date and a time when we hear the second part of it. And that's when people will get another opportunity to speak. But I just want you to know that this board a few months back, state statute kind of changed. So anything over 10 acres, we have to have 2 public meetings on it. So it's very important, because some people walk out and go, why didn't they do something about it today? We can't do something about those 3 items today. So our first rezone is rezone REZ 24-00003, Putnam County School District, ordinance number 2024-014. This is the second of 2 readings. Jennifer, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Jennifer Casella, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment from agriculture to public use light P1 to allow for a new public school. The applicant is Putnam County District School Board. The agent is Clay Swagger. The parcel is 18.11 acres located at 156 Horseman Club Road in Palaca. The parcel is designated public facilities on the adopted future land use map. The subject parcel is vacant and has approximately 600 feet of road frontage on Horseman's Club Road. The parcel does appear to contain approximately 60,000 square feet of wetlands and is located within FEMA Flood Zone X, which is not a special flood hazard area. The current zoning of agriculture does allow educational uses by way of a special use permit. However, the existing future land use and the existing zoning are inconsistent. The public facilities future land use designation is meant for community facilities and services. According to Table 2.01A of the Land Development Code, the public facilities future land use designation is only compatible with public light P1, public heavy P2, and plain unit development PUD. The previous school siting would have been classified as a Type 1 nonconforming use as identified by LDC Section 45-813. Nonconforming uses have provisions in place which allow for maintenance, repairs, and insignificant renovations to occur. However, any significant renovation, expansion, or redevelopment require the site to be consistent in regards to zoning and the designated future land use category. The only method of compliance for a new school to be built is to request an amendment to the zoning map to make the property consistent with the Land Development Code and the Comprehensive Plan. Construction of public schools by the Putnam County School District are exempt from obtaining building permits from Putnam County. In addition, the Putnam County School Board is exempt from submitting development plans to the Development Review Committee. School building plans and site development plans are preempted to the Florida Department of Education and NEFAC for approval by certified reviewers specializing in the development of public school buildings. Here we have our aerial view, future land use, zoning, flood zone map, wetlands. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from agriculture to public use light P1 as the proposed amendment is consistent with the adopted goals, objectives, and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and is compatible with existing development in the area. At the scheduled public hearing on May 8, 2024, the Planning Commission voted to recommend approval of the rezoning application. Questions?
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I have one.
Okay, Commissioner Wilkinson, you have the floor.
Just to be clear, this is truly a non-conforming situation.
Yes, ma'am.
So we would not normally have allowed zoning to be inconsistent with the future land use map.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, then we're going to go to our applicant. Would our applicant like to come up and present? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Sutton with EDA Consultants, and I have a short presentation today. I also have members of our engineering team here with me, as well as members from the architectural design team and some staff from the school board that's here if you all have questions about the project. So I'm going to summarize some of the information that staff presented, but also give you an idea of some of the specifics of what's proposed on the property, which might help explain and answer some of your questions. Is this going through appropriately? Let me see. Oops. All right, so this is another aerial of the site. You can see here the previous school that was sited on the property that's now been demolished. So this has been a school site for a long time off of Horseman Club Road. So it's approximately 18 acres in size. It was home to the former E.H. Miller Elementary School for several decades, and now there's a new school sited on the property. And actually, construction has begun. Clearing the old school and getting it ready to build the new school. The school board has funded the redevelopment of the school to better serve the public and the citizens of Putnam County because the former school was just in disrepair. It's currently zoned agriculture, as we heard from staff, and it has a future land use designation of public facilities. So the zoning category is inconsistent with the land use, and we are asking today to change the zoning of the property to agricultural to public use light, P1, which allows the school to be built there by right. This is a copy of the comprehensive future land use map, as we just saw. So it's currently public facilities. The current zoning is ag, as we've heard. And we are proposing to make it P1, so it would be consistent with the future land use category on the property. This is just a little bit more detail about the P1 zoning category. It would allow public buildings, and it's lighter intensity than the P2 zoning category, so we feel it's most appropriate for the school use proposed. And you can see here, this is the table that shows both the land use categories and the allowable zoning, as we heard from staff. We have worked with them to come up with this application to go to P1. We feel it's the most appropriate zoning category. And then this just demonstrates some of the consistency with the land development code. We've completed the application required. We had the pre-application meeting required, and the full application was submitted in compliance with the required deadlines. EDA is the authorized agent on behalf of the school board, which is the property owner, and we've submitted all of the required documentation for the application. Consistency with comprehensive plan. As stated, we're doing this change to be consistent with the future land use and the current future land use category on the map. We're changing the zoning to be consistent with that, and so this just reviews the public facilities category, which allows the community facilities and services, including schools. We have gotten all of the other permits for the site already, so this is a list of some of the permits that we've gotten for the site. As mentioned, the building permit does not go through the county, it goes through an educational review. But we have gotten the fire marshal approval from Putnam County, as well as the right-of-way use permit for the improvements along Horseman Club Road through Putnam County. We have a permit from the St. Johns River Water Management District, as well as utility permits from the City of Palatka and FDEP to serve the site. So everything is ready to go. This is the final step. This is kind of a high-level view of what's planned on the site, and it calls out some of the transportation-related improvements. We are proposing and have designed a separate bus access from the rear of the property along Brandy Lane, and so all of the buses will come up an improved and paved Brandy Lane and come through a separate area. There is some staff parking along that bus route as well, so we've tried to provide as much parking as possible on the site, but the buses will come through from Brandy Lane, and then parent drop-off, parent parking, and some additional staff parking will be out front along Horseman Club Road. As I discussed, we've gotten approval to build a southbound turn lane into the site from Public Works, and there will be a southbound turn lane and a northbound turn lane just to ease access in and out of the site at those busy times. You can see this yellow highlighted area on this exhibit is where we'll have stacking for parents dropping off their children. So there's a total of about 80 stacking spaces for parents that are coming and just dropping off their students, and they'll be able to move through that quickly, but it does allow places for them to wait if they get there before school is released and things like that as well. And then there's also a surplus of parking spaces for those parents that choose to park and walk their children inside. So in summary, we're requesting to rezone the property from agricultural to public use light, P1, to be consistent with the proposed use and with the existing land use on the property. We have a staff recommendation of approval, and we got a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. As I mentioned, we have members of our team here this morning to answer any questions that you all have.
Thank you. Any questions first?
I have one.
Okay, Commissioner Pickens, you have the floor.
On the stacking, how did you arrive at 80 spaces? Because I understand that the school is going to go from 300-400 to closer to 1,000. students. So, and I know that would probably be a concern of a lot of people that live in that area or even trying to pick their children up. So.
So we tried to fit as many stacking spaces as we could, and we've actually gone through the software and put the little cars in to get that number so that it's accurate. I can show you some summary numbers that we came up with. This may be small in front of you, but there are a total of just over 1,000 student stations proposed. We've added up the parking spaces, and there are a total of 237 parking spaces proposed, which is a significant number. And we assume 85 of those will be for staff and faculty. That's the number that's proposed, which leaves 152 for parents to use. We have assumed that about half of the vehicles, 50%, will have 2 children or more, either siblings coming to school together or maybe parents carpooling. So we've applied that, which would allow 228 students in those parking spaces with their parents. The drop-off and stacking spaces, we have 80 total spaces, as I mentioned. That's at any given one point in time, which would be 120 students, assuming 2 students in half of the vehicles. Now, a number of students will also be coming to the site on school buses, and so the total number of students on the 8 buses and the 3 ESE buses will be 550. That's approximately half the population. But when you add all of those together, so you add the parking spaces, the drop-off lanes, and the buses, you get to 898 students, which is about 85% of the capacity of the school. That number does not accommodate for, that's a point in time, so that doesn't accommodate for the line moving through quickly at drop-off or pickup. And so this is significantly more than most of the other schools in the county. We've really done our best to accommodate as many vehicles on the site as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adamczak, you have a question?
How are we accommodating the children that live within the 2-mile area that normally would walk or ride their bikes to school? With all that traffic from cars coming in and out, this has been a concern that, this is in my district, that several residents have said a concern about. And then also the district, I've been notified by several parents, has a policy where they don't allow parents to walk their children or let their children out through the line, so the parking spaces in all the other schools aren't utilized for pickup and drop off. Is that going to be different for this particular school?
I am not familiar with that particular policy. If someone from the school board would like to speak to that, they're welcome to come up. We are making improvements along the road, and I believe that you can see that there's sort of 2 connection points into the site. If students can kind of walk along the edge of the property, that may keep them out of the drop-off line. But as far as the policy, I'm going to let someone from the school board respond to that.
So as far as the policy is concerned, currently district-wide, we have a wheels-only policy. We evaluate each individual situation, but I think for this particular project, wheels-only would be appropriate as well. You asked about, and let me quickly say, the stacking that we have for this particular school is about 3 times any other school we have. So we use Kelly Smith as a model, and we looked at the aerials of their busiest time, and this plan accommodates that and then some. So it would do Kelly Smith times 1.5 is what we're looking at here with this particular plan. And I think you asked about children in the 2-mile radius. If they are not transported in a vehicle by their parents, and it's unsafe for them to actually walk to school, which would be the majority in the surrounding neighborhoods, then they would get a bus.
Mr. Bowling, would you state your name and address for
I'm sorry, Thomas Bowling, 200 Reed Street, Palaca, Associate Superintendent, Putnam County School
Thank you,
District.
sir. Thank you. Mr. Adamczak, any more questions?
Not at this time.
Anybody else? Mr. Turner, I'm sorry.
Yes, what I was going to say, I think Mr. Bowling just covered, is that the stacking on this project is much larger than it is on others. And I've noticed last year when I had to pick my grandson up from high school a few times that it's not like they stay there, they park there and they're there all day. They come in, pick the kids up, and even though the lane may be full, whenever it's done, it doesn't take them long to clear out and get out of there. So it was very little impact on the street beside it from parked cars. They're in on site. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention. I think that Mr. Bowling had already covered that. But.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
this is a public hearing, so we are going to open it up to the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak in favor or against this project? Please start making your way up to the podium. In favor or against? Going once, going twice, end of public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve rezoning case REZ 24-000003.
We have proper motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all in favor,
I have
signify.
my lit.
Yes, Mr.
So I'm
Adams.
still concerned about the safety for the general public coming in and out of school there. That's been the main concern from anyone that lives in the area, was that. I think what they just said there is, without utilizing, with it being a wheels up only, that takes over 200 students from the transportation perspective out of the numbers. So are we going to do more buses, that type of thing? I don't think that this meets our needs, and I think it puts the county at risk in the future based on statute 1013.36 of having to put in some bike lanes and some sidewalks and other infrastructure that is not there, based on the school district. If a future superintendent is there, decides that they want to demand that there for the safety of the students. And I just want to make the commission aware that that is a risk of this.
All right,
And
thank
I
you.
will be voting no for that reason.
Thank you, Mr. Adamczak. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next case would be rezoned REZ 24-00005, Gary and Robin Blake.
Again, for the record, Jennifer Gazelle, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment from Commercial Professional Office, CPO, to Residential 2, R2, to allow for a residential single-family residence to be built. The applicants are Gary and Robin Blake. It's a 1-acre parcel located at 1580 County Road 309 in Georgetown. The subject site is zoned Commercial Professional Office, CPO, and has a future land use designation of rural residential. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment for approximately 1 acre to allow for new construction of a single-family residence. The parcel has approximately 640 feet of road frontage on County Road 309 and is vacant. Being described as part of Lot 1 of the J.C. Blanchard subdivision recorded in 1923. The majority of the J.C. Blanchard subdivision south of County Road 309 was re-subdivided and developed as Driftwood Cove subdivision and recorded in Map Book 4, page 65, on March 30th, 1961. The remainder became part of Lot 1. The parcel was rezoned from a residential zoning district, R2, on April 24th, 1979 for the purpose of a real estate office. However, no development occurred. Should the requested rezone be approved, the parcel will be eligible for building permits to construct a single-family residence, adhering to the regulations for the Residential 2 zoning district. Your aerial view, future land use, zoning, flood zone, and wetlands. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from Commercial Professional Office, CPO, to Residential 2, R2, as the proposed amendment is consistent with the adopted goals, objectives, and policies of the Putnam County Comprehensive Plan and is compatible with existing development in the area. At the scheduled public hearing on June 12, 2024, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning application. Questions?
Any questions for staff, commissioners? All right, hearing none, we'll go to our public, the applicant. Is the applicant in the room? Would like to speak? Don't see the applicant here. Is there any public comment either for or against this project? And no one's rushing up, so we'll close that portion of it. And Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of application REZ 24-00005, rezoning from commercial professional office CPO to residential 2, because it meets the goals and objections of the comprehensive plan and the land development code.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, audience, remember that that was less than 10 acres. The next three are more than 10 acres, so we'll be hearing those today, and we'll be setting another date in the future to hear them again. Next item is our item C, rezone PUD 24-00003 Kings Family LLC.
Again, for the record, Jennifer Gazella, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment from Residential 1 R1A and Commercial Neighborhood C1 to Planned Unit Development PUD. The applicant is King Family LLC. Their agent is Pendulum Properties LLC. This is an 80.90 acre parcel located at 1160 County Road 309 in Crescent City. The applicant is seeking approval for the purpose of establishing an overnight recreation park consisting of up to 600 RV sites, no more than 2 caretaker residences, cabins, glamping sites, camp, store, restaurant, bathroom, bathing facilities, laundry facilities, RV boat storage, events, meeting facilities, park office, and outdoor recreational areas. The parcel is designated rural center and rural residential on the adopted future land use map. The parcel is currently vacant and has approximately 350 feet of paved road frontage on County Road 309 and 2,600 feet of paved road frontage on County Road 308. According to the Putnam County GIS reference map, there is approximately 18 acres of wetlands. The submitted site plan indicates the majority of those areas to be avoided. Should this PUD be approved, the applicant will then submit to the Development Review Committee, DRC, to satisfy additional development requirements. The DRC will review plans to ensure the development is compliant with local, state, and federal development regulations. As it pertains to this property, the DRC will ensure the placement of RV lots is acceptable based on the development agreement, and the Florida Department of Health will review the plans for potable water and sanitary sewer. Other agencies, including but not limited to Putnam County Public Works, Emergency Services, and St. John's River Water Management District, will review plans to ensure the development will not adversely affect surrounding properties by complying with each agency's specific regulations associated with new development. Our aerial view, future land use, zoning, flood zone, wetlands, conceptual plan. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from Residential 1 R1A and Commercial Neighborhood C1 to Planned Unit Development PUD. With staff proposed development agreement as the request is consistent with the requirements for PUD zoning, consistent with the future land use designation, and consistent with other comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. At the scheduled public hearing on June 12, 2024, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning application. Questions?
Any questions for staff? I do want to make a comment, not to you, Jennifer, but I did get up from my seat and ask the attorney if we needed to do ex parte communication, and he said we did. So if there's no other questions, I will go down the line. Commissioner Adamczak, any ex parte?
I have had none.
Mr. Turner?
I have none.
Ms. Wilkinson?
I've had none.
Mr. Pickens?
Yes, I have. I've spoken with the applicant, both of them, and also a couple of citizens. And I may have discussed it with somebody from the Planning Commission. That's it.
And will it affect your ability?
No, it will not affect my vote.
Thank you, and I've had none. So is the applicant here? Mr. Kennedy, if you'll come up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Patrick Kennedy, 673 3rd Avenue, Willaca, Florida. Here on behalf of the applicant, Pendulum Properties. And, obviously we agree with the staff recommendation, Planning Commission recommendation. We have our own analysis in your package, so we don't really want to belabor all the points that have really been made, and would like to welcome any questions you may have regarding this application.
Any questions? Mr. Adams?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
This is across the street from another RV type park. Is this the one that's?
It's
one
across
adjacent?
309 from the Renegades.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Pickens, you have the floor.
Yeah, Patrick, with this, I guess this is up to 600 RV sites, is that correct? Depending on
Yes.
how everything plays
Yes.
out and staying out of the wetlands and
Yeah.
setbacks and things like that.
Correct. The concept plan you see shows 450, but the wording of the document would be up to 600, which is 7 units per acre, and that's 5 below what the 12 units per acre that might otherwise be allowed. And the idea is to develop around the wetlands and flood hazards to the
Okay.
furthest extent possible, because that's a costly endeavor if you try to even attempt to do that, if you can do it. So
All right, are turn lanes planned for this?
that has yet to be determined. We'll have to get with the county staff and the DRC process once this is approved to determine what's necessary. We anticipate that there may be, but until we have those conversations, we don't know what's going to be required.
Okay, last question, the multipurpose building area. Can you kind of describe that? Because my concern is amplified sound. And I have dealt with that from the Planning Commission to as a commissioner with Renegades. And I do believe that Mr. King with Renegades has made multiple improvements to help with the sound. And so that was just a concern there. And I don't see any hours of a quiet time that may come later of when any of the activities would cease. But can you address that multi-purpose, and will there be outdoor entertainment?
There is a potential for outdoor entertainment. It's not intended to be amplified sound, though. Client is well aware of the early concerns that happened with Renegades and what's been done, and so it would be consistent with or even perhaps tighter than what Renegades currently does as far as that particular issue is concerned. But they do want the opportunity to have a possible eatery and entertainment that goes with it, similar to what Renegades does, but the intention for this one is to be primarily, almost exclusively, for the occupants of the
Okay, thank
facility.
you.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Ms. Wilkinson, you have the floor.
Mr. Kennedy, I appreciate your comments on the quiet time. However, I feel like that we need to make that part of the development agreement. I think we should have quiet hours specifically mentioned or brought into the development agreement. We've done that in other RV parks and other situations similar to this. I don't want to leave it open because I feel like that anything could happen. And so I think we need to close that and put a quiet time hours specifically in that development agreement.
I don't think my clients will have a problem with that. If we see about adding some language that would satisfy you and still allow them to do a meaningful use of that.
Yeah, so since this is the first reading, I'm hoping that when you come back on the second reading, you could have that included.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for the applicant? All right, we'll move on to the public hearing part. Do want to say to everybody in the room, I think we've got some children here or young people on a field trip with their family. Ex parte, basically, we're trying to act like a court system. We're hearing testimony, basically, from our commissioners that they've had comments, and we're going to hear testimony from the audience. But we apply that towards our land development code and our zoning. So it's supposed to take the emotion out of the decision. So just for your knowledge. Is anybody here would like to speak in favor or oppose this application? Please come up and state your name. You can come right up.
Deborah Rush, 112 Thomas Road, Crescent City.
Good morning, Ms. Rush.
Okay, I'm here for my husband. He had something to do. We're concerned about where the entrance will be to this RV park. Will it be on 309 or 308? Okay, we live approximately 1/2 mile from the parcel of land that you're talking about, and we're concerned about noise. We've had trouble with the pub playing music real late. They only did that once after 10 o'clock, but we called the police on them. Okay, and then that's our big concern. We moved to that parcel of land because it would be quiet. And our concern is about noise. And will it be a family RV park? And they were concerned about the septic, you know, the kind of septic they'll use. And so that's my questions.
Okay, thank you.
And so we're against the park, obviously.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak in favor or opposition to this? All right, seeing no one else, our job now is to set another meeting and a time to hear this case.
I'll move that we move PUD 24-00003 to the next Board of County Commissioners meeting, which will be in August.
August 6th.
August 6th.
13th.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
August 13th at 9 a.m. or soon after.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion, Mr. Adamzat?
Yeah, so I'll be voting against this motion purely based on the fact that it's not an evening meeting. So just, it's not anything to do with the applicant. I do want to make note of the difference between this and some of the other ones we saw in the noise is and I think maybe if we put some wording in there where that building that's going to potentially be the noise creator, as long as it stays where it is, I think that alleviates some of the noise just because of its proximity in the middle of 60 acres. However, I still think we need that barrier, but I think we could be a little bit more lax than we were maybe with that one that was just like 6 acres and there was neighbors right on top of it, if that makes sense.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adamzat. If there's no more discussion, all in favor, signify.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, before you call that, can we just check to make sure with the applicants that gives them enough time to modify the text in the development agreement so we have to properly notify and things like that?
From now to August 13th, it would make one sentence.
Just want to make sure.
We can make that happen. I think it's pretty
I
simple.
would
We'll
hope.
get with staff and we'll get it done by the end of the week.
Thank you. And Zach, will you get with Ms. Rush about the concerns she had too?
Access points.
Oh, right now, you want me to address those?
Later on, it's fine. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Just, Mr. Chairman, before we vote, could we just ask that question?
Sure, go right ahead.
Go ahead and I'll ask the question for Ms. Rush. Where is it going to access from?
Currently, the conceptual plan shows access from County Road 309.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear it again on August 13th at 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter. Next one on our list is item D, rezone of PUD 24-00004, Charles Alford Jr. and Catherine Klatt. Ordinance number 2024-07017. Zach, you got that?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Zachary Baker, Planning and Development Services. This is an application to amend the Putnam County zoning map from agriculture to planned unit development. The property owners are Charles Alford and Catherine Clapp. The agent on these application is Joseph Searley and Bob Porter of D.R. Horton. The property is approximately 165 acres, comprising 4 parcels located along State Road 207, and Alfred Road in East Palatka. The applicant is seeking approval of a proposed to establish a mixed-use development with a maximum 700 single-family homes. That's a residential density of approximately 4.2 units per acre. The future land use for the property is urban service, which would allow for up to 24 units per acre. Approximately 60,000 square feet of non-residential commercial space will be included, an amenity center and a park. Infrastructure within the subdivision includes an access road along State Road 207, internal roadways, sidewalks, lift stations, and stormwater management areas. The parcels are designated urban service, again on the adopted future land use map. The ag zoning district is inconsistent with that future land use designation. The vacant, undeveloped parcels have approximately 3,500 feet of paved road frontage along State Road 207 and 3,500 feet of road frontage along the unpaved Alfred Road. According to the Putnam County GIS reference map, there are approximately 6 acres of wetlands on site. Should this PUD be approved, of course not today, at a date in the future, the applicant will then be required to go through the DRC and subdivision plat process. The Development Review Committee will review the preliminary subdivision plat for compliance with local, state, and federal regulations and those site-specific regulations listed within the accompanying development agreement. Agencies, including but not limited to the Florida Department of Health, Putnam County Public Works, Emergency Services, St. Johns River Water Management District, Florida Department of Transportation, and so on, will review the plans to ensure the development will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Once the Development Review Committee is satisfied with the preliminary plat, county staff will arrange public hearings for formal consideration by both the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. Furthermore, the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners may authorize the chairman to sign a preliminary development order for the preliminary plat. Once the preliminary plat has been authorized, the developer may proceed with an application for site work permit to install underground utilities, grading, and stormwater facilities. Once all site work for the associated subdivision has been complete, the developer may submit the final plat, including as-built depictions of the supporting infrastructure. The final plat will be presented to the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners as a consent agenda item. Any member of the Board of County Commissioners may pull that item for further discussion. If no discussion is to be had on the final plat, the Board of County Commissioners may authorize the chairman to sign the plat and accompanying resolution. Any commercial development not associated with the residential subdivision will also be subject to its own review by the Development Review Committee. Here we have an aerial view of the property. Here you can see the future land use map designation. Notice that surrounding the property is also urban service. Here we have the zoning designation. The FEMA flood zone map indicating flood zone X. Your wetlands map showing some wetlands in the northeast corner of the property. And then this is a plan provided by the applicant after the agendas were completed for today's meeting. This is their preliminary water and sewer conceptual plan. So this is where we can kind of start seeing what the development could look like as it takes shape with the water and sewer that would service those homes. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from agriculture to planned unit development. At the June 12th, 2024 public hearing, the Planning Commission voted 5-2 to recommend approval of the subject application. Today we are just seeking the date of the final hearing of the entitlements portion of this project. I can take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? And before we do that, let's go to ex parte communication. Commissioner Pickens, we'll start with you.
Yes, I spoke to representative from D.R. Horton. I've spoken to at least 2 residents and somebody from the Planning Commission about this. And it will not affect my decision.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
I did meet with Bob Porter from D.R. Horton. It will not affect my decision. I also want to give a disclosure at this time. I do have a real estate license with Coldwell Banker Ben Bates' office. This transaction is being represented by another agent who also holds a license within the same brokerage office. I'm not a party to this transaction and have no financial gain or anything to gain from this transaction, and it will not affect my ability to be fair and impartial.
Thank you. Commissioner Turner.
I've had communications with the developer and also several members of the community, and it will not affect my decision.
Mr. Adams-Act.
I've had email communications with the developer and several conversations with citizens, and it will not affect my ability to make a decision.
Thank you. And I've had meetings with the developer, and I've had a ride-around with Mr. Tilton, and I've spoken with Mr. Counts. So that is, and it will not affect my ability to make a decision on this case. So the applicant would like to make a comment, come up and do a presentation.
Bob Porter with D.R. Horton, 4220 Racetrack Road,
Hang on a
St.
minute.
John's.
I need to ask a question. Is he the official applicant on this? That I don't see his name listed as the
We were listed as
co-applicant.
agent on that.
He is a representative of D.R. Horton, who is one of the agents for this application.
Thank you. Go right ahead. I just want to make sure things are above board here.
Thank you. You've already seen this site map. I'll go through this quickly. The staff did a pretty complete. The one thing I did want to show about this site plan is you'll see that we are picking up water from the southern corner there. There's already a 16-inch water main stubbed out, and the sewer is directly across the street. So the county has already extended utilities to serve this site. We plan to do a nice looking entryway. We want to do something that we will be proud of and that the county will be proud of and that the Alford family will be proud of. We have used the name Alford Farms to try and memorialize their history. And a nice presentation. This is what it will look like as you're going down 207 on the front of the property. We've already talked about, I think, most of this. The urban services future land use is designed to encourage the development where the utilities, water, and so forth are present. And as you've seen, they are present here. So this is consistent. Urban services actually allows 24 units to the acre. And as staff pointed out, we're just a little bit over 4. So we're well under the permitted density in the land use. At the planning, we had several people talk about economic impact. And I just wanted to just quickly point out, without having the engineering, I don't know exactly how many homes we'll have. And market will determine what the sales prices are. But we're expecting about 650 homes with an average sales price of $350,000. If we're close to that, it is over $200 million worth of homes to be built and sold there. So huge economic impact. If everybody has a $50,000 homestead exemption based on those numbers, at last year's millage rate, the property taxes would be about $3 million a year. Last year, of course, it's under an agricultural exemption, so the taxes that this same 150 acres paid last year was a little less than $1,700. And then I just wanted to point out a few things from the staff report. I know you've all seen this. We are consistent. Urban Services is intended to encourage this sort of thing. Again, at the planning, we had questions about traffic. You can see from the staff report that even after we build the houses, 207 will still be operating at about 50% or a little less than 50% of the capacity. Staff recommended approval for all of the reasons you've seen, and of course the planning board did as well. So that's it unless there are questions.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Porter. I'm not going to be able to support this project in its current form. There's going to have to be some changes, and the changes are back to what we discussed whenever we met. I think that the sizes of the lots have changed, the roadways changed, unless I misunderstood our original meeting. The biggest problem that I have with it is that we have our land code calls for a 70-foot minimum lot width, and I understand that doesn't work, and we've set a precedence in the past by allowing a 50-foot lot width in the past. This commissioner is not willing to go less than 50-foot lot widths. I also believe in talking to our director of safety for the county, is that we need to have farther in between the houses than 10 foot. So I'm also not going to be in favor of having less than a 10-foot side setback with a 50-foot wide lot. That would still give you the same footprint for a house that you would have had with the 40-foot lot and the 5-foot setback. I can only think to myself what Rolling Hills would look like today with 10 foot in between houses instead of 20. I can only think of that. It would be a disaster. So I'm not saying the project overall, I'm not against it. I'm just against certain aspects of it. I noticed on the drawing that you submitted to us today that you had a 20-foot perimeter buffer around the property, on the perimeter of the property. Is that in addition to the setbacks that you're requesting? So that would be, you're requesting a 10-foot rear setback. So that would give a 30-foot minimum setback on the perimeter property lines?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think that would probably be adequate. But like I said, that's just me speaking, but I believe that I'm just not gonna be able to vote for a 40-foot lot. I'm just not. 50 foot, because we've set precedents in the past at 50 foot, I can go there. And I think we need 20 foot in between the houses for safety reasons, public safety reasons. So that's where I am, I guess. And another thing that I had some heartburn on, I know that you've got in there that you want the interior streets to be 20 foot. Are they going to be curb and gutter streets?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think that's enough room to have a curb and gutter street with a 20-foot street instead of a 22?
I think so, but that's not critical. If you're more comfortable with 22, we can change that.
Well, those would probably be my request, would be the 5,000 square foot or larger lots instead of a minimum of 4,000, 50-foot minimum frontage, the 10-foot setbacks on each side, and the 22-foot roadways. And I noticed that on item 8 of your waivers that you've requested that says if a community development district will be formed, it will assume the maintenance. I think that needs to change, that a community development district will be formed and will assume the maintenance obligations instead of if it's done.
That's fine. That was our intent. I cannot commit that there'll be a community development district simply because the establishment process, you guys have to vote for it. But we can change it to say that either a community development district or homeowners association, so that you know the county's not doing it, because that's our intent.
Yeah, that's what I would like for it to read, is what you just said, to where the county is not going to be required to go in and maintain the internal roads of this subdivision. And let's see, the other one was the rear setback on the perimeter, but I think 30 foot makes me a lot happier than the 10 foot if it's on a perimeter. So do you agree to all those that I just,
I'd like to discuss just a couple of them. First, let me say the 10-foot rear yard is only on our very biggest houses. Typically, we have at least a 20, so it won't be as close as everybody's thinking. In all of the jurisdictions around here, St. Johns County has side setbacks that basically are 5 feet to the eaves, which is about 6.5 feet. Duval, Clay, the rest of them, and even a lot of the stuff in St. Johns County are typically 5-foot side setbacks. 5 feet does meet, the fire code requires at least 3 feet. So we have not had problems with the 5-foot setbacks. And if we have to change to 50-foot lots, and I understand that, I don't have a problem with it, being able to keep the 5-foot setbacks would be a huge help.
well, I'm not allowed to negotiate for my fellow commissioners, but as me talking to you, one commissioner talking to you, could we meet in the middle at 7.5?
Certainly.
That's the proposal right now.
So I got some work to do. We'll get it revised and get it back to,
Well, hang on, there's more, I'm sure. Mr. Turner, you done?
For now, yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Wilkinson, you have the floor.
Did your development, or did D.R. Horton do the treaty ground or treaty oaks and Brinkhoff Road extension in St. Johns County?
we did one section of that. Kind of across the street on 207 is one that is called Entrada on the opposite side of 207, which is a mix of 40 and 50-foot lots, if you'd like to get an idea of what with the 5-foot setbacks. Either 5 or 6.5, I can't remember right offhand, but would give you an idea of what the place looks like.
Well, that's where I was going, because I was going to mention Entrada. It looks like it has a mixed size of widths allowed from all the way up to 63 feet. From
Yes, ma'am.
43 to 53 and 63. And so I wanted, obviously, that's what you're doing in other areas. So I wanted to ask about that. And also Cross Creek and Lake Asbury has a mixed width from 40 to 70, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so all of these homes would have a garage?
Yes,
And 2 parking spaces includes the garage?
yes. There'll be a 2-car garage. So then there will be also, of course, the driveway out front. So really it's like 4 parking spaces.
Okay, I don't know that that's what the development agreement says, so I needed to make sure.
I don't know if it specifies, but certainly it can.
It just says 2 parking spaces, so I want to make sure that we clear that up. And then, because I'm concerned about people parking in the road, obviously. I mean, we just went camping and we had 3 vehicles in a camping spot, let alone a home. So I know, you're going to have more than 2 cars per vehicle, per in most cases, per house. And so I want to make sure, because if you only have even if you have a 22-foot road, you have, people can park on the street, I assume. And so you want to, there's a safety component there for me. But having 4, so you're saying every house is going to have a 2-car garage? Because I thought when I watched the planning commission, you said 1.
I don't recall, but
Okay.
our intent is to have a 2-car garage and parking for 2 cars.
Okay, all right.
And we can put that into the narrative.
Okay, and then in also reading 3.7 of the development agreement, it says the developer may be required to contribute in part or in whole to the extension of water and/or sewer lines and to increase capacity of the county infrastructure providing such utilities. I think it should say shall. I am not okay with any developer coming in, since we do not have impact fees in place. I'm not okay with any developer coming into this county and putting the expenses on the backs of our current citizens. I don't think that's right. I think we should have a fee set up, whatever that is, whether we discuss it as a board here today or you come back with a proposal. I know the city of Palaca, for their water and sewer hookup, is around $5,400 per home. So I just do not think that, again, our citizens should pay for hookups and for any kind of connectivity to these houses.
That's fine. We're accustomed to doing that anyway.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, Mr. Adams, that. You have the floor.
Yeah, first thing I'd like to say is we're not these other jurisdictions. We have in our comprehensive plan a commitment to maintain a rural and agricultural nature in our community. And I think this does exactly the opposite of that. Just because it's urban services just means that there's services there that could be utilized at some point in the future. I think that jumping the ship from 7 miles away to the closest dense population to several miles down the road is exactly the definition to me of urban sprawl. So I think this is an example of urban sprawl. And then a lot of developers do this throughout the country, not just here in Putnam, but throughout the country. They find the furthest point of the urban service, then they can easily backfill from that point forward. Once they get commitment from local government to give you that access there, there would never be a way for someone to vote no to backfill that because it's already committed to. I think this is urban sprawl. I think that filling has to start from where there already is population centers and work its way out. That's the whole purpose of putting infrastructure in my opinion. And I think that's why we did it. I'm only speaking for myself, but when we were making those decisions at the time, the decisions to vote for the comprehensive plan, I think that was what was in the nature of this commission when that occurred. But again, I'm only speaking for myself, but I'm absolutely against this project and this location because I think it's an exact definition of urban sprawl.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mr. Turner, you have a comment?
So, Bob, the entrances will all come off of 207A, is that correct? The entrance?
We have one entrance off 207, which is the existing Alford Road. The intersection will be straightened out a little bit. We'll do whatever improvements FDOT asks us for. I mean, obviously, we don't know what those are yet. And then we will pave the part of Alford Road that is within our project. The Alford Road is already open as a county road. It's a dirt road. So we will pave the part that is within ours. So there'll be the entry on 207, and there'll also be a dirt access that goes out to the south toward Cracker Swamp.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, before I move on, I did have a question on Alford Road. Are you going to close that part that you're going to pave, or is the public going to be able to drive from Cracker Swamp through Alford Road out back to 207 through your subdivision?
They will be able to go through the subdivision and out to the back. It'll be a public road.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Pickens, you have the floor.
Yeah, since we're on Alford Road, you'll pave it and it'll be a full width 66. Is that what it is? Right away? Should be.
I think we're showing an 80-foot right-of-way.
Okay.
But it'll be full width, yes, sir.
Okay. I appreciate the concerns that the commission has brought forward today because I had many of those concerns. One of them is the road. I've not been to many subdivisions like this, but what a lot of people will do will move in and they're downsized and they'll fill their garage up with stuff and don't want to rent a mini warehouse at the time, so you can't park in the garage. So then you're parking out in the driveway. So the road width is a concern. So you're going to have friends over there. They're on the road here, so you're meandering through. Is 22 feet enough to put cars on, say, either side and drive a full-size vehicle down the road without having to drive in and out, if you see where I'm coming from?
I do see where you're coming from, and I think at 22 feet, I don't think there'll be much trouble with navigating it. If two people park directly across from each other, then obviously it's going to slow down traffic, but I think there's still room to get through.
And some of the other subdivisions that you mentioned that y'all developed, is that a standard? Or are they 20 or 22 or 4?
Most common is 24, and if that is a concern, we will change this one to 24.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any further questions?
Not at this time.
Okay, Bob, I do have one. Again, going back to Alford Road, if that's going to maintain a public throughway, you're only going to pave up to the back of your subdivision, correct? So
That is our intent. I don't want to pave it all the way to Cracker Swamp. One of the biggest concerns we have been hearing from neighbors is they're afraid that there's going to be a lot of traffic from the neighborhood thrown onto Cracker Swamp Road. If we leave that as it is today, then I will tell you that 95% of the folks that leave the neighborhood are just going to pull out on 207 because they're not going to want to go down the crack.
Being that I have over 300 miles of dirt roads in my district, I know a little bit about that. I know people like the idea of living near a dirt road until they live on a dirt road. And then they want paved road. So they're going to take the path of least resistance. And 207, I understand, is at less capacity, but it's a nightmare some days to be out there. It's even scary for me to drive that road. I guess it's like I guess the older I get, I don't need to be in such a hurry as I used to be. So, and I guess there's still a lot of people younger than me that are in a hurry. But I'm just concerned about what that would look like when we start putting these kind of numbers on people and they start using Alford Road to get out to Cracker Swamp or something. What's that going to do to that road? And, you know, I have a little concern there. So that's just my concern. Do you have another concern I want to talk to staff about? The capacity, and I think Commissioner Wilkinson brought it up very eloquently about improving sewer. We've talked about that. Our capacity right now at the sewer plant for this is, where are we at right now? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but percentage-wise.
With the RIBRI rate, we'll have a capacity of 300,000 gallons a day of effluent treatment. Currently, we're taking in roughly between 130 and 150,000 a day, so roughly 48 to 50%.
So are we anticipating getting the new RIB rating? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's in process. I think it's final stages at the DEP at this time, so that's been applied for.
And how much effluent will this cause our station to receive?
Studies show that you'll see 300 gallons a day per residential family, roughly 50 gallons or so per day per person. So each rooftop would produce roughly 300 gallons a day. And that's on a small scale. I mean, we see residents now using 4,000 gallons a day. So if they use 4,000 gallons a day or 3,000 gallons a day of treatment, you times that by the number of homes that they're going to put in the subdivision. If you, easy math, 3,000 a day times 700 is 210,000 gallons a day of effluent, which puts us over the capacity in our current sewer plant.
Well, I guess my concern was when we had that other case come before us, and then we saw that PUD that's sitting out there along East River Road. You know, if that thing ever really took off and got built, our plant would be over capacity pretty quick at that point. And the obligations we've made from the river, trying to get people off the septic tanks. We've made some obligations, and I don't want to say promises, but we've got a long-term plan to improve that area. And we know that development's going to come, but it's going to put a strain on our system there, is my point.
It will, and just for clarification, we have applied for a grant through DEP for an expansion to the sewer system. It was cut by the governor, but we have planned and we have applied for the grant application. I think it was last week we applied for it. So we do have a $10 million grant ask in for expansion of the sewer plant, just for what you're just saying there. The septic to sewer phase 4 conversion's got 400 homes sitting in it that are existing in the Duns Creek area that's in design right now. So, I mean, you start stacking all those numbers on it, it won't take you long. You'll be over the capacity of your current sewer system.
Thank you, JR. I appreciate it. Mr. Turner, you have a question?
Oh, yes. It's along the lines of what you were just discussing. I totally agree with Commissioner Wilkinson that we need to have some kind of a utility connection fee, without a doubt. I mean, it's got to happen. But what we've got to be careful of, we can't let anybody, no matter who it is, come in and stroke a check to hook up 600 houses ahead of time, and then we guarantee them capacity. Because what we'll do is we'll place a moratorium on any other growth in the East Black area. So as long as all the guys coming in absolutely up front understand that when we get to a certain point, you can't build any more houses unless you build a new sewer plant. That's all there is to it. Because I won't be here, but in my opinion, I think it would be very prudent for the county to maintain at least 15 to 20% of the capacity that they have at the present time for future commercial development within the East Palatka area, or we'll shut it down. And so we need to make sure that we do that. Now, I've also been an advocate for many years that running our sewer plant at 40% is ridiculous, which is what we've been doing for throughout the years. So we've worked very hard at trying to get it up to in the 60 to 70% range where it could be closer to being a sustainable product instead of all the other citizens putting in their money to make the East Platte water or sewer system work. And the plan that we have in place now is going to make that happen within the next couple of years, I think, and JR's on board with it. And I think he'll continue to implement it if the commission doesn't change their mind that they want it to be sustainable, and it'll get there. But putting a development of this magnitude in the area, we need to just let everybody know straight up it's first come, first serve until we get to a certain capacity. And then at that capacity, there will be no more other than the reserve capacity that you keep for your commercial business in the area to keep from a supermarket or a big box store or something else that's going to come in at some point in the future. We've all heard for years rumors about another grocery store or whatever in the East Platte area, and I don't believe they're going to come unless we have sewer services for them, sewer and water services. Waters, I don't think, is going to be an issue. I think we've got plenty of capacity for water for all these different things coming in. Sewer is going to be the issue, and it just needs to be on a first-come, first-served basis. And it's not going to be very long until we have to go back. I don't think we ever discontinued having a hookup fee for commercial. At the current time, we've got residential hookups waived. We will furnish you a tap, and then you have to hire a plumber and buy your own lift station and everything else, come hook up to our system. But that's probably, other than the ARPA money that we set aside to hook up so many users. But when that money's gone, and it pretty much is now, it's been spoken for, we're going to have to go back to the way it was before, which is you have to have a connection fee or a tap fee or whatever you want to call it to hook up water and sewer to try to cover some of these impacts. And that's going to happen, I think, sooner rather than later. Even, in my opinion, it should happen sooner rather than later, and just exempt the ones that we've already got on the list or that we're already going to hook up or whatever. That's all I had today, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Any further comments by the commissioners? Hearing none, we're going to take a 3-minute break. Thank you. We're going to get back into our Board of County Commission meeting. I do want to bring to your attention the blue cards that you fill out are not a necessity. We're going to allow the public to speak with or without a card. We're going to ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. We're not going to gavel you down if you go over a little bit, so don't worry too much about that. We understand 3 minutes is kind of daunting at times. Some people can get it done, some people can't. Can everybody hear me? So we are going to keep our comments to 3 minutes, but we're going to let the chair will allow this to continue, so don't worry too much about that. So we're going to go in the order of who's for the project first, and then we'll go who's against the project. And again, keep in mind that we're not going to vote on anything today other than any changes that the board might decide to ask the developer if they decide to do that. So our 4 is Roy Dublin and Mario Gonzalez. Mario Gonzalez, sorry. I am so apologize. I messed up your names. So.
No problem. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. I'm Rory Dubin. I'm president of the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, which includes the majority of the realtors in Putnam County. Our membership has 12,000 members. We were presented with this project at one of our board of directors meetings. Our board of directors voted in favor of supporting this unanimously. And we come before you today to support that. As you know, or I believe would know, that housing has been in a shortage in not only in Putnam County, but really around the country and in Florida. Florida's population has been growing, and this particular proposal for single-family homes in a subdivision does bring, as was previously stated, a good economic impact, both in the tax millage rate and the impact on Putnam County. So our members, including Putnam County and the greater Northeast Florida, are in support of this proposal, and we wanted to come personally to attest to that.
Thank you, sir.
Mario, you want to say anything?
Mario, thank you.
Mario Gonzalez, thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate that. Again, the President-elect of the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors. There will always be people in favor or against. We speak in favor. We thank you for your preliminary support, if you will. And the hard job is up to you. So I appreciate the comments that you guys have been given to those putting forward in the project. And we know it's not the end and it's not finalized. It's just a beginning. And those communications should continue. So we speak in favor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for both coming down, and we appreciate it very much. Next, Mr. Mark Linton. It looks like Dana Jones is in. Coming.
We would like to express our support for the housing project slated for State Route 207. I would like to state a few reasons why. We desperately need workforce housing. We recently announced over 100 new jobs at the Certainteed Gypsum facility on US 17 North, and many of them will need homes. Over the next 5 years, our strategic plan's goal is to attract 750 new jobs that aren't here today, and all will need housing. Our agriculture acres have increased, unlike some counties around us that have declined. Our housing has not grown or developed over the years. Many in our local workforce are having to rent outside of Putnam County and drive here to work every day. They are looking for affordable housing, and this project will provide much needed homes. Adequate workforce housing can attract and expand our local labor force. This project will generate construction jobs and will infuse money into our local economy. Extending the wastewater along State Route 207 has made it the ideal place for development of this kind, and it is coming from St. Johns County, if not Putnam. Northeast Florida is experiencing an unprecedented surge in growth, and we all need to work together to manage it. We must provide infrastructure and support for projects like this so our growth is positive. Thank you for your time and consideration of this project.
Thank you, Mr. Linton. Thank you. The next is
I have a comment.
Mr. Adamczak.
So at the average sales price of $350,000 per home, that's not affordable housing. The majority of people in this community couldn't afford that house. The majority of the new jobs at Certainty couldn't afford that house with the current interest rates and taxes. So that's only looking to bring in people from outside this community, is not looking to serve the people of this community or the job growth that we have lined up based on the fact that we're not attracting the six-figure type jobs to this community at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brett Dennis?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brett Dennis, Palaca Gas Authority, 518 Main Street in Palaca, Florida. I'm going to read a statement too, but I want to start by saying thank you for the questions that you've already asked. It's obvious to me that you're thinking this through and want to make wise decisions. My statement would be, Commissioners, the Palaca Gas Authority has a long and proud history of meeting the gas energy needs of the citizens and businesses of Putnam County. Over the past 65 years, and most recently with our gas main extension to the fire station on 207, we have built a natural gas infrastructure that has positioned PGA to assist in the development of the 207 corridor. We are strong proponents of strategic economic development in Putnam County and plan to join the county with their water main extension project in East Palaca. We are confident that Putnam County Board of County Commissioners and the Putnam County Planning Commission will make wise decisions regarding the details of the Alford Farms planned unit development, and we stand ready to meet the gas energy needs of those customers. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now those who are against, our first speaker, Mr. Lynn Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, would you please come forward? And if you will, state your name and address for the record.
Please excuse my summer cold. My wife and I both have the same. That's why she is not here. Honorable Commissioners, regarding PUD 4, we are Lynn A. Hoffman, and my wife is Mary E. Murphy Hoffman. 500 County Road 207A, Edgefield on the St. John's. Please add our names to the list of objectors to the planned unit development of the Charles Alford lands, in other words, PUD 4. Our reasons are many, but primarily we object to taking 152 more or less acres of prime farm land out of production. We are rapidly losing this precious resource, which we need to ensure that we produce the food we eat. So many people do not make the connection that we must first grow our food or raise it to maturity. It does not magically appear on the shelves in our grocery stores, but is about a year-long process from farm to table. What one sees in the food stores, other than fresh produce, has been harvested and processed about 1 year ago. You are proposing to rezone a tract of land that is in the Tri-County farming area of St. John's, Putnam, and Flagler counties, right in the middle of the farming district. Such a development will be a blight on our community, on our farming community. We wish to continue living in our quiet, peaceful community where it is quiet and traffic is relatively sane. Nor do we want to see the massive stick-type apartment housing units going up that we see every time we travel to St. Augustine for doctor appointments. We understand your wish to increase the property tax base, and 700 housing units would certainly do that, but it will increase our property taxes that we cannot afford. We have been told by you folks in a previous hearing you should have planned for the future. We did. We had a charitable remainder unit trust. The trust worked for several years, then got to where it was running out of money and untenable to manage. We chose to dissolve it, and the charity was properly given its portion. Meanwhile, the property taxes continue to go up, and our fixed incomes do not. You will say, then, move to a different place that isn't on the river. That is not acceptable to us. I am the daughter, my wife is the daughter of a great-grandfather, John Bland Hazel, who moved here from Edgefield, South Carolina, and purchased his land in November 1860.
Mr. Huffman, will you try
We
to
are
wrap
the
it up?
recipients of the Florida Pioneer Family Award.
Mr. Huffman, will you try to wrap it up?
Sorry, I'm running down a little. Pioneer Family Award established by the Agricultural Commissioner Doyle Connor in 1985. We are contributors to the county as historians, a former Putnam County archivist, and the creator of the Putnam County, Florida Cemetery website.
Mr. Huffman, I
Well,
need you to wrap it up.
I can't.
Can you wrap it up, please? You went over your time. Will you wrap it up? Just real quick.
Only little.
All right, thank you, sir.
We also help solve mystery. I'm through,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. I've asked Zach to wipe down the microphone since you have a summer cold. It's okay. You're okay. Thank you. Before our next speaker.
Hazard, they come with this.
Thank you. You're fine. Okay, our next speaker, Mr. Wade Alford, if you'll make your way up, please. And if you will, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Wade Alford, 237 Worcester Road, Pomona Park. My great-grandfather was Bryant Sanders Alford. Bought the first piece of this farm on October 25th, 1899. He and my grandparents expanded this farm through World War II. My father learned to plow on this property in 1937 or 38 at the age of 8 with a mule. Okay, so let's put emotion aside. All right, that's all nice to know. The facts are, this does nothing for affordable housing. It's inconsistent. I have asked planning and zoning since before it went to the planning commission for documentation, staff reports, all these things. I have gotten nothing. I was there in person last week. Oh, you can get it on the internet. I still have nothing. Okay? So how am I to organize an opposition to this? Yeah, Putnam County increased a little bit of farmland. In Northeast Florida, last 10 years, we've lost over 1 million acres of silviculture. I am a farmer. I also work 4 days a week in St. Johns County for a DOD contractor in business management. I moved from Putnam County to St. Johns County because of the commute, the ride time, being this thing with Dad, a lot of reasons. I came back to Putnam County, put my residence back in Putnam County because of what St. Johns County turned into. That 4-lane of 207 took both of my grandparents' properties, their homes. I own the other end. On the other end, I own one in St. Johns County. 207 is a nightmare already. We don't need all that. This is lack of information from the planning and zoning is an issue I want resolved. I would need, Mr. Pickens, you're my commissioner, can you please direct them to give me the PDF file, whatever it is, whatever information they have, I want it all. It's quite interesting that the future land use map, this deal was initiated right before the future land use map was finalized. Quite interesting. So, you guys are looking at a fight. Mr. Adams seems to be on board. Yeah, we increased our row crop land a little bit. But look outside. We don't just live in Putnam County. We live in the state of Florida. Look at what happens in St. Johns County. Look at affordable housing. Right over there, my grandchildren, Bryant Sanders Alford's great-great-great-grandchildren need affordable housing. My daughter needs affordable housing. This does not provide affordable housing.
I'm just really frustrated with requesting pertinent documents and not being able to get them. And I think my story is, as far as leaving, going to St. Johns County, I'm done with that now. I'm back here, and I see this turning into St. Johns County, and that's really a problem. I appreciate you guys' consideration of saying no.
Thank you, Mr. Alford. I appreciate it. Okay. Next, Mr. Larry Tilton.
I'm Larry Tilden, live at 340 East Cracker Swamp Road, been there almost 60 years. So I'm well aware and well acquainted with the area. With the traffic that has increased over the years out of St. Augustine and Flagler Estates.
Mr. Tilton, will you pull that microphone right to your, there you go.
And okay, I'll start over.
No, you're fine.
You're going to start my time over?
Yes, sir, we'll start your time over, okay? There you go.
I'm Larry Tilden. I live at I got it, son. I live at 340 East Cracker Swamp Road, and I've lived there almost 60 years. So I'm well acquainted with the area, the growth of it, and the negatives of the traffic coming out of St. Augustine and Flagler Estates. The property owners are requesting this foolish change is in between, that lies in between 207 and Cracker Swamp Road, which ties into 207, making 207 the only corridor of ingress and egress for the proposal. 207 is already stressed with the morning and evening commutes. The property is approximately 150 acres, and it was told to me that they're planning on building 700. I've heard 600, whatever houses per acre in the process, which comes between 4 and 5 houses per acre. This is nothing more than a ghetto. They may as well build an apartment building. With 700 houses average, it'd be about 4 to 5 to the acre. With the 700 houses, at average a car and a half to the house, that's 1,000 cars. 1,000 trips a day in the morning, 1,000 trips a day in the evening. 207 does not need this additional stress. Highway 17 and 100, which 207 deads into, many times looks like a parking lot all the way from 207 to Palatka. It's already over capacity. Even though maps may indicate subdivisions in the area, most are cultivated farms. This foolishness will destroy the farming in that area. Already, it has been reported that those who want to do this have contacted neighboring landowners to see if they can expand this thing. This is nothing more than a cancer. You can call it development if you want to. I've heard it said you can't stop it. Yeah, we can. And now in this place is the time to stop it. It's not good for the area. It will destroy the area. It will destroy. It's the beginning of the end of agriculture in East Palatka. I think I've hit the highlights of what I've got to say. It's a bad situation. It's not for here, and I heard the buzzer, so I'll quit. Don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
If there's
Tilton.
any questions for me, I'll be glad to take them right now.
Thank you. Mr. Jody Counts?
I'm Jody Counts, 331 East Cracker Swamp Road. We're against it fully. It'd be a terrible, terrible deal to put into you don't put a farm in the middle of town, so don't bring a town to the middle of the farming community in East Palatka. It is the dead center, and like Uncle Larry said, it's a cancer, and that thing will spread, and it'll consume all agriculture down 207, and it's just not a good deal. And the back road, just because you keep Alford dirt, won't mean the people won't stay off of it. Flagler Estates has a big, pretty entrance with their name on it, but a hell of a lot of people use the back entrance, and they clog up Cracker Swamp every day, running into farm equipment, going off the roads, running through fences. And that little intersection of Alford and Cracker Swamp, it ain't going to hold that many people coming on and off of it, and it'll be bad. And, yeah, I'd like to turn the rest of my time over to my dad, Johnny Counts.
Thank you. Next is Jet Counts.
My name is Jet Counts. I live at 120 Turner Road, about a half a mile from where the subdivision is proposed to go. I, like 95% of the people in this county, am against this subdivision. It is a terrible move for Putnam and will have a detrimental impact on the surrounding community. If this passes, it will be the start to the end of agriculture in East Palatka. All them Yankees and city folks are not the type of people you want to be moving into the heart of agriculture. The first thing they will be complaining about is the smell of rotten cabbage and taters, dust from the fields, farm equipment moving too slow on the roads, farmers spraying their crop because it smells like chemicals, gnats and flies buzzing all summer, and the list goes on. Political pushback about these things will aggravate and stress the farmers so they won't even want to be here anymore. Many already want to leave now. Who do y'all care about? Your farmers and ranchers, or the Yankees that want to move in and change our way of life? In the planning and zoning meeting we went to last month, which was a waste of time, the big determining factor on this was whether it complied with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive development plan. It was clearly conveyed that it did not comply, but somehow that dictating woman, Susan, conjured half the board to vote for it anyway. The goal of this plan is to maintain and manage the county's natural resources and quality of life by establishing a pattern of development that is harmonious with the county's natural environment and supports the rural and agrarian nature of the county while providing a desired lifestyle for county residents. First off, covering cultivated land with concrete and houses just seems like destruction of natural resources. It has been stated many times by numerous people that a subdivision like this greatly decreases the quality of life for everyone in it and everyone around it. After that, you've got to be a sure enough idiot to actually believe that development is harmonious with agriculture or supports the rural and agrarian nature of this county. And it is definitely not the type of lifestyle the people of this county desire. The only people this is going to benefit are the few very wealthy people putting this deal together and the politicians that are in their back pockets. After hearing all the negative impacts and disgust from lifelong Putnam County residents and people from surrounding counties also, y'all's vote on this will determine whether you actually care about the people of this county and the East Palatka community, or whether you're just a bunch of scurvy bastards in it for the money. Thank you for your time, and think deeply about your decisions.
Yeah. Thank you, but a lot of that was unnecessary. No one's in the back pocket of anybody. Cheyenne Smith?
I'm Cheyenne Smith. I live at 8845 Barrel Factory Road in Hastings. I live right down the road from my family's cattle ranch, and that's where Jet and Jody also live, and I help them work, and we're there a lot, and I just don't think this is a very well-planned opportunity for development around here. We have farm equipment, we have livestock, cattle, horses, dogs that we use to work. There's just so many people on the roads already that we can't keep up. We get ran over all the time over there. Like, it's just, they're zipping around us. This is only going to bring more conflict to our way of life and how we can do things. I don't believe leaving the access open in the back down Alford Road to Cracker Swamp is a good idea also, because yes, they will be using that and it will be a big problem. And then the zoning is not consistent with the surrounding area. yeah, you can't put houses in the middle of farms like that, of that capacity. It's only going to move towards us, and it's going to affect our properties and our taxes and things like that. And we're just completely opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnny Counts? I would allow that. Ms. Gina?
My name is Gina Tilton Counts. I live at 9470 Barrel Factory Road in Hastings. We own and operate a cattle ranch that has been in my family a few generations. The ranch borders Cracker Swamp Road. Part of it is just across the county line in St. Johns County, and the largest part of it is on the Putnam County side in East Palatka, which borders Cracker Swamp Road. My husband Johnny and I, our 2 daughters, their husbands, our 3 granddaughters, our 2 sons and their wives all live on the ranch. Our property is 3/10 of a mile from the proposed development. I'm here in opposition to granting a special variance to allow a high-density residential planned unit development that borders an intensive agricultural industry. This type of change is not compatible with the agrarian nature of the surrounding lands. We already know the obvious impact that a high concentration of people in such a small area is going to bring forth, such as traffic issues, pressure on the natural environment, overcrowded schools, increase in property taxes, and the list goes on. That area has been producing an economic value not only to the benefit of the farmer, but to the county and the community. I can see what this type of development has done to St. Johns County, and as far as I know, this type of development does not exist in Putnam County, but will create the same effect that St. Johns County is having to deal with now, and it's not good. The planning and zoning meeting that I attended and spoke at pertaining to this was very confusing and contradicting, as a majority of the board had the opinion this was not a correct fit for the area. However, they seemed forced to vote for it. At least one board member had a conflict of interest, or at least an appearance of impropriety that was not disclosed also. With this kind of impact on the area, it is designed to stab in the heart our way of life that we have known for several generations and create adverse conditions that will further burden our lifestyle, our property, and our pursuit of happiness, along with our neighbors, other family, farmers, and our friends. I want to emphasize to all of you to not take this lightly and use all the wisdom and discernment in making this decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Gina. Appreciate it. Mr. Johnny Counts.
Thank you. Good seeing all of y'all. Let me hold this in the right place. I might have to get Uncle Larry to hold it for me. I'm Johnny Counts, 9470 Barrel Factory Road, Cracker Swamp, Florida. I oppose the granting of a special exception to allow an unprecedented density of residential homes in a highly intensive agriculture corridor. I say let them build under the arbitrarily imposed zoning policies that has been placed upon the surrounding landowners as it stands. I also oppose it becoming a community development district which granted eminent domain powers under state statutes. I asked for redress of the planning and development meeting that had conflicts of interest and those appearances of impropriety of board members not disclosed, or a true reflection of the majority of the board members' stated opinions that this development does not meet the agrarian nature of the surrounding area, as is written in the purpose of the comp plan, and the attempt to vote their conscience in this matter. I disagree with the premise that this will be a benefit to the community or the county. A residential subdivision is not compatible with a highly intensity agricultural industry for the obvious reasons of the nature of ag production being the sights, sounds, and fragrances of nature of ag production, growing the sustenance to our survival on this earth, And those that don't like to mow grass have very little tolerance for it. Commercial or industrial type of businesses can coexist with an agricultural community, but we all know that when people come, the problems become exponential and the finger always points to the easiest target. I'd like to see a report from the staff that shows the cost benefits comparison showing the economic impact to the county by changing this land from ag production, which has been continuous since before there was even a greenbelt exemption. We're talking a century here at least, and has been continuous since there was ever even and this type of utopian residential development that has transformed some of our neighboring counties into a spiral of unsustainable costs for infrastructure and services. I disagree with the premise that the county comp plan and the land development code creates the conditions that if an application checks the right boxes, it has to be granted. The creation cannot control the creator, and we must not tie the hands of its future governors. The powers of our government come from the people. This development that is paying 3 times the going rate for agricultural land is the machinations of men with an agenda to get the proverbial camel's nose under the tent that will be their stick to continue overpowering the surrounding community, many who have been here many generations and contributed as well as sacrificed to build their homes, their family, and their industries in Putnam County. Heigl said, "We learn from history that we don't learn from history." And it doesn't have to look back very far to see the irreversible damage that happens when we stop planting potatoes and cabbage and start planting Yankees on some of the most agriculturally productive ground along the St. Johns River Basin. We must find a way to protect our most wisest pursuit of agriculture, mitigate the loss of valuable tillable soil like we are compelled to do for the frogs and the lizards. Our very existence depends on 6 inches of topsoil and the fact that it rains. We are living a parallel to Patrick D. Smith's novel, A Land Remembered. It's a story about transition, change, remembering our roots, and has always been a part of our identity as native Floridians.
Mr. Council, will you start wrapping up?
Adam Putnam gives us great words to ponder at this time. I have often said that culture eats strategy for lunch, and so here it is. Our culture must be preserved. Never lose sight of the people, the industries, the traditions, the heritage that we all fight and work for every day. Always remember where we came from, the shoulders of the giants we stand on, and always remember our roots. I implore you as a governing body to pray for the wisdom and discernment to choose what is right and let the consequences follow. May the Spirit guide you in this most important decision that will have far-reaching effects and implications to be forever constituted.
Thank you, Mr. Counts. Thank you. Trevelyan Davidson? And I messed up that name. I know I did. Yes, ma'am. I should have said that.
No, I'm not criticizing, but you understand the connection then.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I grew up here, went to school here. I love the people of this county. I love them dearly. I come back often to visit. I still have family here, as you noticed my emotional brother over there. But I understand where he's coming from. This land was my grandfather's land, and his 10 kids farmed that land with him, and it goes back 125 years. And the owners of this land right now are Alfords also. And I will say that I'm not going to get into a family fight, but my grandfather did not inherit that land from my grandfather. And if they had, he would not be allowing this to happen if he had any possible say at all, because it's just against everything everybody else has said. And I was so frustrated with the last meeting. I was so frustrated, and I don't have to even go into that because you've heard that from everybody. You guys need to do something about that. I mean, it was confusing. It really was. But so that I can get all my points, let me go first by saying, no, this is not going to be affordable housing, okay? Because of the way things went last time, I said, you know what, I've got to do my research. I've got to really get in there and find some ways to show how this is not right. I looked up the census. It's called the Census AC one-year survey. It states that the median household income for Putnam County area was $33,370 in 2021. Now we're talking about houses $300,000 to $400,000, I was told previously. This development's not going to bring people from, it's going to bring people from other places. Putnam County's not going to be able to afford this, most people. And that's what I don't want to see. I live in St. Johns County now. I wish I could be back here. I've watched our farmland, I've watched our forests just disappear. And every time I go down State Road 16 to visit my brother in the nursing home, I see more and more and more of it. But anyway, I also wanted to say that I went back and I looked at your comprehensive plan, because although they agreed last time, all but two, and originally it was all but four, that this is in alignment with your comprehensive plan, it is not. Goal A1 says, maintain and manage the county's natural resources and quality of life by establishing a pattern of development that is harmonious with the county's natural environment and supports the rural and agrarian nature of the county while providing a desired lifestyle for county residents. That was one thing. Then there's policy 8142. The Land Development Code shall provide protection measures for the continuation of agricultural uses within the county. The county shall analyze land use changes and development activities proposed adjacent to existing agricultural areas to ensure compatibility with agricultural uses. I'm wondering if this has been done. Urban sprawl? Yes, I looked that up, and it's all over the place in this. Is that really my ding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's okay. Just wrap it up.
All
It's
right.
fine.
He explained urban sprawl. I was going to give you the definitions that are in your comprehensive plan, in your land development, but he's explained it. And I will say, I have heard you are from up north, and evidently you get it down here, and I appreciate it. I also want to say, you guys have been awesome, because you have picked up points that we have stated before. You've asked questions. You're trying to make things clear. You're trying to hold them accountable, and I appreciate it. And I hope you'll continue to do that. And I would like to say a lot more, but my time's up. Thank you.
Would you do me a favor and state your name and address for the record?
Okay, it is on the sheet, but my name is Trevelyn Alford Davidson, and I live in St. Johns County at 1528 Greenwich Circle West, St. John's, which is Fruit Cove, Florida.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak that has not done a card? Please, okay, there's four. I saw you first, so come over here and state your name and address. And if you all line up, we can move this pretty quick. So,
my name is Allie Alford. My address is 101 Retreat Lane. I don't live in East Palatka. I do live in Putnam County, but not East Palatka. And as a single mom, my biggest issue, I think, is the affordable housing. We keep hearing that it's affordable housing, but then they said $350,000 was the median or the average house price that these houses are going to be. I do raise my kids here. I have 4 kids. So these people are going to come from out of town to buy these houses because, like they said, the median income is $33,000 for a person in Putnam County. So if the people come from out of town, where are these kids going to go to school? How is this going to affect the people that live here and do raise their kids here? How is it going to affect their day-to-day life? My kids, my oldest son, he rides a bus to school every day, and if we don't make it to the first bus stop and we have to make it to the last, he doesn't get a seat on the bus. So how is it going to affect the people that try to raise their kids? And like single parents, I don't have much help with my kids. So it's going to affect us a lot to have all these new people come into Putnam County, and I really believe that this is not a good thing for our area, for our county. So that's all I had to say. I didn't prepare anything. So
thank you, Ms. Alford. Appreciate it. Please come up. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Silver Chirello. I live at 130 Old Spanish Bluff Road, East Palatka, Florida. And my concern is the wetlands on this proposed neighborhood have a creek in them. All the water coming from the neighborhood is probably going to run off into that creek. That creek then goes to, I think, Edgefield parcel, which I think this man used to own and donated to the county, Lynn Hoffman. That then goes to another creek called Cat Creek, which runs through my yard. So all the trash that's going to run into this wastewater is going to eventually come through my yard, and every time there's a storm, all the debris is going to come in my yard. And it's not just the debris, it's the fertilizer, the chemicals, everything else that are going to go into St. John's. This is a direct path to the St. John's, and I haven't heard anything about water management. But it will go straight into the St. John's River. It will affect the algae bloom and everything else. It'll affect the fish populations. It'll smell, and it's just going to be bad. And I'm just wondering if they're going to implement some kind of filtration system to block things from entering. I know the Edgefield parcel is supposed to help with that, but we need more. That's not going to be enough. And I'm not totally pro or against the neighborhood. I'm kind of on the fence, but I think there's a lot of things that need to be addressed, and the water runoff is one of them for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'll get to see my face a lot. I'm the agriculture agent here in Putnam County. My name is Wendy Musseline. I grew up in East Palaca. My current permanent address is 122 Old Brick Road in East Palaca. There is no culture without agriculture. I have worked in agriculture the majority of my career. I'm a professional engineer. I have lived in agriculture in Europe. And I am here because I love my county, and I want to see agriculture remain economically, environmentally sustainable. I've heard a lot about acreage increases in agriculture in Putnam County. I have statistics. They did an ag census. And if you just kind of take that top layer, yes, agriculture as a whole, including silviculture, livestock acreage, and crop acreage as a whole has actually increased in Putnam County when you compare ag census from 2017 to 2022, which is in total contrast to St. Johns County, which has decreased by 31% in their acreage, and in contrast to Flagler, which is our other kind of big ag partner, which has decreased by 9%. But what you need to understand when we break down this census, we have 13,000 acres of what we consider cropland. That has not changed. That's actually gone down in the last 5 years. And break it down one more time. If you pull out the line item, vegetables, melons, potatoes, sweet potatoes, that's 4,800 acres. So yes, 150 acres means something. It means we're losing 4.5 million tons of potatoes per year. This land has improved irrigation, tile drain, funded by 75% by the government, by DEP, by St. John's Water Management District at $4,500 per acre. So this is not just silviculture land that you clear and cut pine trees down, okay? This is highly productive vegetable land in our community. I am offended by that last meeting that had contractors on that board, that had a realtor on that board that voted against this. And yes, it is absolutely inconsistent with Goal A1A in the comprehensive use plan, which was actually their vote. I did not understand that vote. I was there, didn't understand it. I'm not going to read that again. Passionate about this, a lot about economics. One more, 62.2 million a year ag crops bring in. Now that's crop land. That's for Putnam County, and that's part of this census, 62.2 million per year. It is part of our economic structure. It is our economic driver for Putnam County. So let me just say, there is no culture without agriculture. So please, please strongly consider this in your decisions.
Thank you, Wendy.
Good afternoon. My name is Crystalyn McClure, and I live at 210 Cracker Swamp Dirt Road. This is not good. I'm new to the community, I will say. I actually moved here from Miami and watched the Redlands do exactly what this community is going to do here. They bought up little bits, until there is nothing left. And it didn't take more than 5 years. We moved here because we wanted this kind of a lifestyle. We don't want all of the people packed in all around us. I live directly across from all the farmlands. I get to watch them on the roads having to deal with the traffic, the accidents, the people getting severely injured because they are running into farm equipment, running off the roads on Cracker Swamp Road, and it will impact that area greatly. It will definitely. It'll impact the farmers. It impacts the people that are coming here because we don't want to live in that congestion. And my kids went to school here. I know that the average person in here isn't going to be able to afford these houses at all. There's just no way. That's totally untrue, that these are going to be affordable for people in the community. I totally agree with everybody that it is going to bring people from outside and not support the actual community here. I have friends that want to move to the area because they also want this kind of a lifestyle, but they don't want to come if this development happens because it's going to just impact all of that as well. So that's all I have to say. I hope you guys take into consideration all of those things and everything that everyone else has said, because it is very important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. Council members, my name is Jacqueline Green. I live at 546 Lomax Street in Jacksonville, Florida, but I spend all of my time in Putnam County for the last 2.5 years. My daughter, who's here with my granddaughter and one of their best friends, are horse girls. And so 2.5 years ago, we made the decision to spend a lot more time in a rural community so that my kids could, grow up in this kind of an environment. I am an attorney. I am not used to being this ill-prepared. I found out about this meeting last night. Didn't really know. I'm not in tune with what's happening in this community nearly enough. Been busy, but this is clearly something that is very important, I think. And I'd like all of you guys to know that I appreciate y'all's attention that I've seen y'all take on this point. And I want to just give you a little bit of a different perspective. I stay off of Cracker Swamp Dirt Road, and basically the things that y'all have brought up about the sewer, I think is you kind of can't bypass that. That sounds really important. And so, I think that's one of the things that really, before you make any movements forward, I don't know how you just ignore the fact that it's going to overwhelm your sewer plant. I'm not on sewer where I stay. There is a septic tank. And so would it be nice to have sewer? Yes, it would. I want y'all to know that I've been looking at properties myself. I'm going to disclose here that the properties that I'm looking for are in the $500,000 to an $800,000 range. Anything that's something like 40 acres or larger to 100 acres is what I've been looking for myself. Just so you know, there are other people out there who are looking to come to Putnam County and make this their home that are looking for agricultural space. One of the reasons why I have not looked as much very locally is because of what I've seen happening here, that it's starting to look a lot more like St. Johns County. So I'm going farther north, farther west, because I don't want to end up living where I was living, which is Jacksonville. And I have never looked in St. Johns County because of what is there. So I think that there is an issue. $3 million of taxes, that's a lot. I can understand how that is very enticing, but I think there's probably another way to come up with that revenue than this plan. So I would be happy to try to, assist with brainstorming that. Like I said, I'm ill-prepared because I didn't know about this meeting or even this issue until last night. But I felt compelled to be here and just say that there is another perspective. There is definitely, some brainstorming, I think, that can be effective in trying to get everybody's needs met. I'm sorry to the D.R. Hortons of the world, but if you guys turn Palatka or Putnam County into St. Johns County, people like me aren't going to want to be here. People who have horse girls aren't going to want to be here. So you kind of got to decide, what do y'all like about this community? This is what I fell in love, and why I spend my time in this community is because it is rural, because of all of the farmers, because of all of the people who are in agriculture, because of what they mean to what we have going on and what we need. We need food, We obviously need more vegetables, but, so I just really appreciate everything y'all have done in your time, and I would just ask you to really face the issue of the septic. That's a big deal, or the sewer, and let's brainstorm how else we can come up with $3 million, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, last speaker.
I'm Ralph Hagee, 112 Paul Drive in Hollister. I've just been hearing, about this project, and I'm just wondering, did anybody do any research on how much the family makes a year here? I mean, they're not going to be able to afford these $350,000 homes. This is ridiculous. Think about it. Can you all afford it? I know I can't, and I'm a landlord, so I'm just telling you, it's ridiculous. I don't know what's behind it or what's going on, but it's all about the money because nobody can afford $350,000 homes. That's all I got to say. I just want to put it on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is going to close our public portion meeting of this, and we'll have Commissioner deliberations. Commissioner Adamczak, you have the floor.
I do want to be clear. There are places in Putnam County this is appropriate. So that is definitely a fact. My background, I am a Yankee. I moved here from Buffalo, New York. I grew up in an agriculture community. The town that I moved from had 160 people in Collins Center, New York. We fought developers. We fought all that stuff tooth and nail like you all are doing. Not when it was appropriate. There was developments that went right by the town center and expanded out. And over time, it did take some farmland. That was appropriate. It filled in some areas where there was houses where people had 10-acre estates, 20-acre estates, and there was 100 acres in between that the farmers really didn't want to farm anymore because they were surrounded by people that moved from other towns and things like that. And eventually those 100, 200-acre parcels became small developments. That's normal. What's not normal is jumping several miles out of a town center and creating something that's a standalone entity that drains the resources of everything around it and changes the dynamics of the surrounding environment. To me, that absolutely is unacceptable. I listened as every person that's up here ran for office. Every one of us said we want controlled growth. That doesn't mean we all think controlled growth is the same as one another. But when I said it, I meant what I'm telling you right now. I meant that we need to grow from city centers and town centers out, and we need to focus on backfill and not focus on jumping the gun and creating situations where we're making it backfill occur, which is exactly what this does. This creates a situation where we jump out of the city center of East Palatka, and obviously it's not a recognized city at this point, but it basically is one of the biggest communities that we have in Putnam County, and you create a backfill situation from there that basically eliminates, traditional agriculture and traditional, what this community is based on, why I live here, why I chose to move here and buy 20 acres in the middle of the woods, why a lot of people choose to live here and have 1 to 5 acre parcels and have that ability to have some chickens or to have a little bit of growing vegetables and stuff. I managed a 450 acre farm. We owned 450 acres. We just sold the last 80 acres literally last year, and we made sure we sold it to a dairy farmer, and a trust holds that mortgage for that dairy farmer because we understand that farmers today can't afford to go out and just buy lots and land with the way developers are inflating the prices. So at some point, the farming community, you all, have to decide whether it's more important to keep your community and maybe lose a little bit of your land's value, but to keep it in the farming. I spoke about that to a couple of groups in the past year. That's a decision some people in some parts of the country are deciding to preserve it. These land trusts aren't necessarily the best idea in the world either. Again, I'm against this project for all those reasons. It goes against everything I believe in, the whole reason why I live in this county, why I believe in what this county is, and it goes against our comprehensive plan and what I believe is the core beliefs that formed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Mrs. Wilkinson.
This is one of those things I'd question whether I was going to push my button on. I've only been here, this is my second year here. But Mr. Adamczak, I know you've made lots of comments today, and I'm still very open-minded about this and taking in all the facts. But I'd like to know, did you vote on the future land use map that included this parcel in East Palatka to urban service?
I voted no on the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And did you vote to expand water and sewer to East Palatka?
I have voted no on every sewer thing that's been in front of me since I've been on this board.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Could I ask Mr. Porter to come back up, please?
You may.
Mr. Porter, did you have any issues with any of the statements that was made earlier, that the request on my behalf as far as lot width, lot size, the side setbacks at 7.5 feet, the 2-foot streets, that you'd either have a CDD or a homeowners association that would maintain the roadways inside, and that there would be a minimum of a 30-foot setback on the perimeter lots, 20-foot that you have drawn, and the other 10-foot. Did you have an issue with any of those?
No, sir. I was going to make it 24 feet of paving instead of the 22 because I heard that
24?
comment as well.
Wider the better. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we...
Ms. Wilkinson has a comment, if you don't mind to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're
Go
fine.
ahead.
Are you putting a fence on the?
You're not.
Are you putting a fence along the perimeter regarding on Cracker Swamp Road side?
We certainly can.
Okay, I know the
I
development
don't-
agreement says or, so I wanted to just see what your.
If everybody would prefer a fence, I have no problem with putting a fence.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how, I do understand the intensive agricultural use in that area, and there have been some good concerns that have been brought up today by residents regarding noise and dust. Those are all true things, large equipment in the area.
Sure.
So how would you address that with your residents if this were to move forward?
Whenever we think that we're going to have a problem with a neighbor or that kind of thing that will upset residents, we typically, as part of our contract, will have a disclosure they sign that tells them what that condition is. If they're next to a natural area or they're next to a wetland or close to something that's going to be noisy or whatever. So what we would do as part of our purchase and sale contract on the houses is to do a disclosure that explains that they are next to active farmland, and that there will be dust and smells and noise and that sort of thing.
Okay, all right, thank you. That was.
But I remember as a young boy, and people would say, "What's that smell in Palatka?" And it smelled like money. It's called Hudson Pulp and Paper back then. And my grandfather came out of up north to start that mill. And my daddy worked out there, and I was supposed to, but I was kind of a rebel and didn't want to follow daddy's footsteps out there. But I guess my concern is that everybody's fine with knowing we live next to agricultural until that cabbage field starts smelling on a hot day. And it does smell. You have to turn the air conditioner off sometimes driving through there because it'll come right on in your car. But at the same time, it's the way of life. And my concern there is as much as you try to tell people, in my business, I could say it every day, you moved out there knowing of that condition, but yet you want it changed once you get there. And that's a big problem. The other problem I had when I talked to you was about that property and the wetlands that surround that and that water trying to get over to the river. I have been out there with Mr. Smith, who drove me through that property with water coming in his floorboards on his property, and that water all trying to go that direction. And I understand you got a lot of ponds and retention areas, but it's wet, and right now we're dry, and we're getting almost to a concern level out in West Putnam, as dry as it is. So I do have concerns there. And my other concern, the rural nature is one of them, but also that Alford Road. You know, people are going to come out there. They're going to think that that's a way out, and they're going to take that dirt road through farmland, and they're going to hit Cracker Swamp Road, and then they're going to get down there to 207, and what then? It's bad enough now. It's scary bad at times. And I do understand. I see the farm equipment trying to turn in to unload their potatoes and cabbage, and they can't get off the road. And the trucks that are delivering or taking the product out can't get on the road. It's scary out there. So there are times that I'm worried about. But I do think we got some situations that we need to address if this project moves forward, and I'm really probably more against it based on the fact that I want to see some concessions that address the concerns of the neighbors out there. So that's my concern. Mr. Adams, did you have another comment? Or Mr. Pickens, I'm sorry.
Okay, in the comments with Commissioner Turner, you were going to move the road widths to internal roads to 24 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you'll still have sidewalks in there?
Yes, sir. There'll still be sidewalks.
Okay.
And as for the Alford Road, I would have no problem. It's an open road. I don't have the right to close it without permission from the board, I assume. I would be happy to close it off and just have a crash gate, something like that. So if a fire truck or ambulance needs to get through, they still can. But that way we would not have any regular traffic, if that helps take care of that concern.
Thank you. Mr. Turner, you were going to make a motion?
Well, let me start by saying I think that we need to have more discussion on Alford Road by all means, but it needs to be carefully thought out. And the reason being, if you go and pave Alford Road from end to end, then you're guaranteeing you're going to turn all those people out, especially the ones that want to go down Cracker Swamp Road to St. Johns County, or the ones that want to go to town, but there's a little bit of traffic up at the other intersection. So I think we need to carefully think about, do you really want that road paved? Because then most of the people are going to go out to 207, which is where we'd want them to go. So I don't know. I think that discussion needs to be had, but it needs to be carefully thought out. And I don't really think that closing that road would be the good option either, because there's just too many people that use it right now. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we move this forward to the next hearing on August 13th at 9 a.m. or as soon thereafter as possible, with the caveat that the applicant change to 5,000 square foot minimum lots, 50-foot minimum width, side setbacks of 7.5 feet, 24-foot interior streets, that the language is put in there for a CDD or a homeowners association that will maintain all interior roadways, and the perimeter setback a minimum of 30 feet.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Turner, would you also add a connection fee or tipping?
I think not to my motion, but I'll certainly talk to you about it after.
Okay, I'll second your motion.
We have a proper motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, one question. I should have done it before the
Pickens?
motion. You mentioned a fence. Leota, you mentioned a fence.
Yeah, I did. I wanted a perimeter fence.
Okay. What kind of fence?
Something that's going to separate them a little bit better than
I'm good with it. There's no problem.
Privacy fence.
A privacy fence.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I mean, that's not just a clear hog wire or chain link
Correct.
fence. You're talking about an opaque fence of some kind that would give them separation.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll add that to my motion.
Will you?
You mean your second?
I'm in my second.
Okay, so there's going to be a fence of a privacy fence of source.
Perimeter.
Perimeter.
Fence.
All right. Any further discussion on
Yeah,
that?
I do have a question to make sure everybody understands, and I understand that the decision will be made at our next meeting.
At our next meeting.
Yes, all we're doing is voting to move it forward is what we're doing, but moving it forward under the new conditions that they've requested, the new minimums.
Okay.
And that doesn't guarantee it's going to come out that way. So I mean, right now we're just in discussion. Mr. Adams, we have a motion on the
Just
floor.
for clarification, I'll be voting no on this motion because it's not an evening meeting.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that?
It's not
It's not an evening meeting.
Gotcha. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for coming. Next case is our rezone PUD 24-0005, Greg Kimball. Commissioner Wilkinson,
I would like to have that discussion under commissioner comments that we were just talking about,
What's that?
the
What was he going to discuss?
connection stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, staff, are you ready? Again, this is one of two readings. Guys, if we got to move on for our, go ahead, Jenna.
For the record, Jennifer Gazelle, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is requesting a zoning map amendment from residential manufactured home park, RMH, and commercial general C3 and residential 2 R2 to plan unit development, PUD. The applicant is Greg Kimball. This is a 15.94 acre parcel located at 1488 State Road 20 in Interlochen. The applicant is seeking approval for the purpose of establishing an overnight recreation park consisting of up to 130 RV sites, no more than 2 caretaker residences, 10 primitive camping sites, and a bathhouse. The submitted development agreement outlines the construction to be one phase with completion occurring by December 31st, 2030. The parcel is designated agriculture and commercial on the adopted future land use map. The applicant removed 40 mobile homes, leaving 2 mobile homes which are occupied by tenants of the prior mobile home park and may be used as the caretaker residences in the future. The subject lands have approximately 850 feet of paved road frontage on State Road 20 and approximately 85 feet of road frontage on Southwest 59th Avenue, an unpaved county-maintained road. According to Putnam County GIS reference map, there are no apparent wetlands. Should this PUD be approved, the applicant will then submit to the Development Review Committee, DRC, to satisfy additional development requirements. The DRC will review the plans to ensure the development is compliant with local, state, and federal development regulations. As it pertains to this property, the DRC will ensure the placement of RV lots is acceptable based on the development agreement, and the Florida Department of Health will review the plans for potable water and sanitary sewer. Other agencies, including but not limited to Putnam County Public Works, Emergency Services, Florida Department of Transportation, and St. Johns River Water Management District, will review plans to ensure the development will not adversely affect surrounding properties. It's our aerial view, future land use, zoning, flood zone, wetlands, conceptual plan. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from residential manufactured home park, RMH, and commercial general C3 and residential 2 R2 to plan unit development with staff proposed development agreement. The request is consistent with the requirements for PUD zoning, consistent with the future land use designation, and consistent with other comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. At the scheduled public hearing on June 12, 2024, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning application.
Thank you. So this is one of two readings, a minimal. So Ms. Wilkinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jennifer. So will accessory uses be allowed or not allowed? Because when I look under section 3.32 of the development agreement, it says, last sentence says, accessory uses normally associated with residential uses will not be allowed. So is it will be or is it not? Because you have both in there. I think it's just a typo. I'm just trying to figure out what
It may be a typo in the development agreement. I'm going to defer to the applicant on that question.
Okay. That's my only question.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The only really concern I have with this, because obviously it's an existing mobile home park right now, so this is definitely an upgrade, in my opinion, is that they have one parcel that's parcel number 4, I think it is, that goes over onto 5th Avenue or wherever it is. with this being a PUD, can we request or can we say that we don't want them to have access except emergency access on the 5th? Because that's a dirt road.
It is a dirt.
And they don't need to bring all those RVs in and out of that dirt road to get into this thing. It needs to come in and off of the actual highway itself.
I believe it's part of the MSBU system out there too, that road. That
Well,
dirt
I think
road.
we can require that as part of this process, can't we? That they can't use that as a primary ingress or egress.
I don't believe that there's actually access from that road at all. Like when we went out to put up.
It shows that every piece of paper I have shows it.
I think what you're saying is you want to stop them from using it for
Yeah, they
access.
have to
Because
stop.
you could not access from there. I mean,
You cannot use it for ingress and egress except for emergencies
on the side road.
on the side road.
Can't they just take that parcel out?
Thank you. Can we just exclude that parcel from this PUD?
Well, I think there's some validity for emergency situations that he
Yeah,
kind of
you
mentioned.
might want to have it for an emergency situation to get ambulances in and out or what have you. But I just don't think, I've been to quite a few RV parks in the last year or two, and it seems like they all have a second ingress and egress, but you can't use it except in case of emergencies. So I don't know. That's just my opinion, whatever y'all think.
I agree with it.
Mr.
Yeah,
Adams?
I agree with you.
I just want to say, this is out there between kind of where Larry and I live almost. If you made a line, it's probably in the middle. And I don't know when they purchased it, but I know since I've lived out there, and I used to live behind there, now I live the other end in District 5, they've already shown great improvement to the property.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it's a blessing that they're doing it. And obviously, no matter what we do, we don't know who's going to own it in the future, whether they'll maintain that. But I think it's a great project considering what's already there.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've seen vast improvements in this mobile home park. Been out there over 45 years and very, very, very cleaned up and looking forward to the final. But I have a concern on that partial 4. I don't know if you really want to include that in your PUD, but if you do, emergency access. But if you did, it's going to come through your dog park, and then you've got your facilities there, number 70 and 69, so I don't think you're going to be able to. Is the applicants here? Okay. Why don't, come on up to and let's move this a little forward real quick. If you will, go ahead and state your name and address for the record, and then we can talk about that.
I'm Lainey Kimball. It's 1488 State Road 20 in Interlachen.
Okay.
Greg Kimball, same address.
Okay, good. If you will, speak right into the microphone, okay? So I guess the question that Mr. Turner had is the accesses off of 20 seem to be appropriate, and they look really good. Y'all have done a good job. But off of Southwest 56th Avenue, which I believe is part of our MSBU, West Putnam MSBU system, I'm not sure exactly. You've got partial 4. Are you familiar with that partial right here?
Yeah.
Okay, take my map then, see? Okay. So, yeah, no, this one down here where your finger, that one.
Yeah, you have to go to the,
Yeah, go to the podium. Because I guess my question is, what's your plans for that? Commissioner Turner thought it might be an access, but.
No, we were planning on closing that off unless it's deemed necessary for emergency use.
What would you do with it? Would you close it off? Just sell it outright, or?
Just sell it, yeah.
Then I wouldn't include it in your PUD, is what I'm saying. Okay, so I think you could carve that out. That, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, can we check with Rich on, because it's been advertised accordingly for that property to be included, are we able to just omit it at this point in time?
Yeah, you can reduce what's part of the application.
Okay.
So we can.
I mean, the effect would be the denial of the PUD, so.
If the property owners are okay with that, then I don't see an issue with striking the inclusion of that lot. on the east side of the
And you're
property.
okay with that?
And just so
striking
everyone's
that?
clear, we're talking lot.
Would you
14,
state
parcel
that
4.
publicly that you're okay with doing?
Yeah, we're okay with it. Is there any issue with emergency access, though? I want to make sure that's not.
You weren't going to use it as such anyway, correct? So, yeah, and the 2 accesses off of 20, should be 3, yeah, okay, so, yeah. And I do appreciate y'all cleaning it up. I used to get a lot of complaints, I get none now, and I am your commissioner out there in that area, so. Yeah. All right, so we're good. Any other comments you'd like to make while you have the podium? You are the applicant. You're good? Okay, good. Thank you.
Did we get the question asked about the accessory uses that's in the agreement?
do you
Is
wanna
that will or
answer?
will not?
If I may, on behalf of the applicants, I believe the intention is to allow accessory uses for the residential units that would be entitled on the development agreement,
Okay.
but not to allow accessory uses for the RV spaces within the park.
So can we clear that up on this agreement, because it's not clear?
Is that up with the applicants?
Will you define accessory units so I make sure I'm right?
Sure, yeah, an accessory use would be a garage, a pool, a
Storage.
balcony for single-family residence, a storage facility, things like that.
Yeah. No, we don't plan on having that other than the homes that are there.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have my map back now? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is a public, thank you, Ms. Kimball, I appreciate it. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak in favor or opposition of this request? All right, seeing no one running to the podium to speak, we will close the public portion of this. And commissioners, there's been a request on this to move it to a date of September 10th. Was that correct? Is that correct, September 10th? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to move this next reading of PUD 24-000005 to September 10th, 2024,
At what time?
at 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second it, but are we going to put in there that a parcel 4 is no longer included like he offered to do, where they don't have access to that side road?
Yeah, they're handling that.
Well, they're amending their application to support it.
Okay. So any further discussion on the motion at hand? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Okay, next portion of our agenda, public comment on agenda items. Is there any public comment on any of the consent items 6A, B, and C? Any public comment on that? Then we'll close the public comment period. And commissioners, is there any items you'd like to pull? Commissioner Adams at? Commissioner Turner?
None.
Commissioner Pickens?
I have none.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
I have none.
And I have none. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of consent agenda items A, B, and C.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second? Proper second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thomas, are you ready for codes enforcement? Is there anybody in the audience for the fine reduction case codes 2006-0312 or 2020-00164? Is there anyone in the audience for those two codes cases or any of the codes cases? Okay, all right. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to Code Case 2006-01312, I move that we reduce the fine to staff recommendation of $4,102 if paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to case number 2020-00164, I move that we accept staff recommendation and reduce to $1,797 if paid within 90 days.
Second.
Proper motion, proper second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Thank you,
like sign. The
Commissioners.
ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Any appointments? Commissioner Pickens?
I have none.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
I have none.
Commissioner Adams-Act?
I have none today.
Commissioner Turner?
I have none.
And I have none today either. Going right down to new business, Administration third quarter budget reports.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is your third quarter fiscal year 24 budget reports. As we've discussed numerous times, although we are theoretically 75% of our year is complete with the close of quarter three, we do not travel a normal cycle, i.e. you will not expect to see 75% of your revenues or expenditures expended. I do have a few notes. In the general fund, we've received 90% of our revenues. That is largely coming from your taxes. The intergovernmental revenue is down a little bit, and that is because we're changing the way Putnam County Sheriff's Office is receiving and expending revenues. So you're going to see that reflected in the mid-year true-up when we do the account adjustments. We will remove those revenues and expenditures. They're receiving them directly instead of indirectly through the board. So you just don't see that revenue reflection there. Expenditures are at 63%, which is under target for where we are in the year. In the transportation fund, again, our revenues are at 42%. You are seeing your gas tax revenues trending at about 53% of the year. They are more cyclical, i.e. we should see them closer to 75%, although this trend has been something that we have been seeing for many years, which is you're seeing declining gas tax revenues. We, again, will likely not hit our projected revenue collection for transportation fund this year, and we will likely see a decline again next year. Your expenses are at 59% in the transportation fund. Those are on target. The fire fund it has 102% of the revenue collection completed. Some of that, again, is you're seeing a grant revenue post where the expenditures post differently, but their taxes are right on target with 97% collections and 42% expenses year to date. The sanitation fund is at 81% revenue collection and 44% in expenses. And your water fund, East Putnam Water Fund, you're seeing at 16% revenue collection. That is a metric of the fact that the intergovernmental $10 million, a large portion of that are our grants and large projects that we have for which you won't receive revenue until you do the work and submit reimbursement. So you have an HMGP grant, you have an Army Corps grant, you have quite a few large capital project grants there. But you're also only seeing 29% of your total expenditures. So if you will, they're kind of mirroring each other, and we expect to see that when we have those large grants coming in and out of those accounts.
Any questions for staff? Julianne, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda will be Episcopal Children's Service contribution. Julianne, do you have that?
Yes, sir, I do. Received a request from Miss Brittany Spangler, the Senior Director of Programs. This is the first time we've received, it's the first time I've received the request since I've been here. I did look back in the history. The county has not made a contribution to them since 2010, but they did send a letter asking for a contribution in this year's upcoming budget. And I believe Ms. Brittany is here with us. Yeah, you're welcome to come up, Brittany.
Ms. Brittany, you've been very patient to sit there, so thank you.
Can you hear me? Excuse me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Sitting here. My name is Brittany Spangler, as she said. I'm the Senior Director of Programs with Episcopal Children's Services. We are the contractor for the Early Learning Coalition in North Florida. So the reason why I'm asking for money is we are required to reach out to all of the counties that we serve and ask for our 6% matching funds. What we would do with this $5,000, the state would give us $78,333.33, and then also they would match your $5,000 one-to-one, so that would be an additional $5,000. So your $5,000 contribution would turn into $83,333. Our funds do usually come from the state of Florida and the federal grant. As I said, we require a community match of 6% for direct services, and these this again helps meet that requirement. And wanted to note that basically all of the funds received would go directly to child care costs, no administrative costs or anything like that. So it directly goes to the families that we serve. To kind of give you some numbers, we have currently about 950 average per month is the number of children that we serve. And we currently, so far, starting July of this year, have, where's my number? 32 contracted school readiness providers. So that's local child care programs within Putnam County, both centers and family child care homes. So not only does this money assist families who need assistance paying for child care so they can go to work, this also then helps your small businesses within your community as well, because then that brings families to their programs that will help them. I do have 2 handouts. I don't know if I'm allowed to pass those out or not.
If you will give them to Miss Ashley right here, and she'll take care of it from there.
And just as she's passing those out, the second handout is just an overview of the school readiness program from the state of Florida and basically the requirements, who qualifies, the benefits, and those sorts of things. The other document I gave you is some statistics from Child Care Aware of America. And in Florida, one of the things I like to point out, it's not just Florida, but everywhere. Typically, an annual cost of child care is more expensive than the annual cost of a college tuition, which really puts things in perspective of how expensive things are. If you look on the bar chart, if you have 2 children in childcare, it kind of shows you versus your home expenses that that's the most expensive charge in your household. So just wanted to kind of put that information out there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Mr. Adams-Zach?
Where are your locations in Putnam, just for the record?
We have one-stop office, which is in the same complex as the Winn-Dixie across from the Walmart.
I guess where are your locations that you have the child services, the
actual programs?
Yeah.
It's actually private providers, so they're throughout Putnam County. The school district does not contract for school readiness. They contract for a voluntary pre-kindergarten program. But if you want all of the contracted providers with us, I'd be more than happy to get that list for you and get it sent in.
You said you had 32 in Putnam?
No, that was fine. I just was curious.
You serve 950 students? Is that what you're saying? Or
On
children?
average, in Putnam County alone.
In Putnam County alone. I am aware of your services, and I have certainly met young families, especially single moms like the young lady that was in here earlier, Ms. Alford, who, if it weren't for these child care services, they would not be able to work.
Yes.
And then they would be even in a more dire situation. So obviously we want our young parents to be able to work and afford to be able to work, so it doesn't cost them so much. So I appreciate what you're doing in Putnam. I know there's a daycare facility across the street from my husband's shop, and I believe you guys are over, they use this program as well. So I do know, and I have reached out to a lot of people in the community that are involved, and they do say that you're here. You're not just saying you're here. You're not just handing us paperwork,
Right.
but you're actually here, and you're providing the financial means to help through Episcopal Services, and $5,000 for a return on investment of $83,000 makes good sense to me. I know that it's been a while since you've asked, or since the agencies asked, and you explained that.
Yes, I have just started taking this over this year. My supervisor is in the process of slowly retiring, and she mentioned to me that she actually ended up just stop asking Putnam County because year after year after year, the funds just weren't available.
Right.
So I just said, well, I'm just going to try and see what I can do. So here I am asking for $5,000. Currently, right now, the only other funder that we have for Putnam County is the United Way of St. Johns County, and they just added Putnam County to their donation list. This is the second year, and we get $10,000 a year from them.
And then the state will be matching their funds as well?
Yes, so their $10,000, I have this. It brings in, if I can read, $156,666 before the additional one-to-one match of $10,000. So I say $5,000, but Obviously, if anyone ever wanted to offer more, we're more than willing to take that, but we also understand if you're not able to include it in your budget, any amount that you would be able to include, we would be more than happy to accept.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing I should mention, not only do we have the school readiness program, but we also have the child care resource and referral program. So any family, even if they do not qualify based off of income and their household size, it's a free service where we can help families locate different child care programs or other community resources that they need based off of where they live, the type of services they need and all of that, and that is completely free.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I see as the biggest issue for our citizens is finding the resources
Right.
and getting the information. So thank you for doing that.
No problem, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, any other questions? Where do you want to go from here?
I'm in favor of this, but, I know, like I said, I've spoken with people in the community. I know families that this is affecting, and it really is making a difference in our community. But I see Mr. Pickens has his light on.
Mr.
I
Pickens?
think the lights are just going crazy.
I think they're just going crazy. So
Oh,
can you,
okay.
can you explain again, that you say a $5,000 donation turns into 80? 83?
We have a 6% match requirement. Even if we cannot actually get any funds in, we are required to make the ask. So we are, basically, it's, your 5,000 goes into that 6%, and that's why it brings that much money down, plus the one-to-one. I don't know if that helps or not. If any money that we ask basically goes, they will give us, take that money and divide it into what the 6% would be.
Okay, you said you had how many,
950?
950 kids, and then how many different facilities, I guess, or people?
Sure. On average, we serve 950 children per month, and we have currently 32 contracted school readiness providers. If you want it, we also have a voluntary pre-kindergarten program that we oversee, which is the free preschool for 4-year-olds. And because we are in the process of doing that for this year, just looking at last year's number, we had 25, including the school district providers that offered that program as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Adams?
I think I was just trying to get the light to stop blinking.
Okay. They're not working at all, so I can't, I
I think
apologize.
they're working now.
No,
No, not working.
not working, but that's okay.
It's the government, would you expect less?
Just holler at me.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I'll make a motion that we approve the $5,000 to Episcopal Children's Services
Second.
based on the request for 2025.
Second.
That's for the next budget year, correct?
We have a proper
Yeah, fiscal
motion,
year
proper
25.
second, further discussion. I do have something I want to say. You know, I understand these services are very needed. I just kind of have to wonder where government steps in. I don't mind us stepping in, but I look forward to the day we step out and let somebody else step up. Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it? But,
Yeah.
you know, I just don't, I'm very comfortable with helping, don't get me wrong. But there is a time that we just can't keep spending government money on, because everybody has a worthy project, trust me.
Right.
Everybody does. So,
Chairman, I don't think this thing will work.
Mr. Turner, there you go, you're working.
All right. I'm not going to be able to support this, and it has nothing to do with your cause. It's just that everybody's charity is the best one. And I have a basic belief that the government shouldn't give your tax dollars to charity. I just have that belief. I believe that I give money almost daily, certainly weekly, to different causes, but that's my choice with my money. It's not me spending Mr. Count's tax dollars. So I'm just saying that I can't support it for that reason only. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a comment. I agree with Commissioner Turner. But if this is going to turn into that many dollars, that's a little different there, in my opinion. How will we get deliverables that this is actually happening?
Whatever you request, we can provide. Different, we have several different agencies that we get our funds from. Some just want a report at the end of the year, how many children that we were able to serve with this money. Some request it quarterly, some just want more specific information. So whatever information that we can collect that you would like, we'd be able to provide that for you.
Could you come back quarterly to update this board?
Absolutely.
Do you need me to amend the motion? Do we want to amend the motion saying contingent upon a quarterly report?
Yeah, I'd like that in there. I'm not going to be here but one more quarter.
Yeah, I have no problem.
You know.
Willing to amend it?
Yes, sir.
I'll amend the motion to say contingent upon a quarterly report on the status of the number of students that are being served and agencies serving them locally in Putnam.
We have an amended motion.
An amended second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Turner?
Yes, Julianne, do we have to have an MOU with them? Seemed to me like a while back, we couldn't give money to a charity because we had to have an MOU for an audit.
We had to have clear defined deliverables,
Yeah.
but it just sounds like you're going to be getting those clear defined deliverables back to you in a quarterly report that's going to be a public report.
Okay.
All right, let's call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is administration, Florida Small Business Development Center funding request for fiscal year 25. Julianne?
Thank you, Chairman. We received the proposed MOU between the SBDC and Putnam County, and this year they're asking for an increase. Our prior funding level has been in the amount of $12,000. This year they're asking for $22,000. We requested some justification or explanation on the increase in the funding, and Mr. Rick Paul sent the email that is attached and lists a couple of main reasons, one being that the University of North Florida, which is one of their funding partners, has lowered their contribution, and they've had increased operational costs. So the item before you today is simply to ask you if you would consider or would like to consider their increased funding request.
All right, so the lights aren't working, so Commissioner Turner?
What was it last year?
It's been $12,000 for as long as I can find.
Okay, and now they're asking for 22?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other commissioner comment?
And Mr. Rick is also here today if you'd like to, if you have questions.
Yeah, ask him to come up.
Mr. Ritt, would you come up, please, sir? And if you will, state your name and title for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Rick Paul, Small Business Development Center, 1100 Reed Street. Good afternoon, everybody. Been here a while, I guess. Thank you, Julianne, for the information that I shared with her on the reasons for the increase. I do want you, would like to make you aware that we are having an SBA workshop this afternoon. Everybody, of course, is invited to that. So that's part of the programming that we bring to the county. Also, we had some of your fellow commissioners show up at the CRA workshops that we've had, a couple of those, trying to bring the city and the county together, trying to encourage the business environment. So this is a very active program that we've got going with business consulting and so forth. Year to date, I'm a little under where I was last year in the amount of funds that I've helped secured for businesses. Last year it was about 6.8 million. Right now I think I'm at about 1.4, but I've got about 3 or 4 million out there that may or may not get approved. So very active, trying to help out the community, help support all the mom and pop businesses that make Putnam County so great. And are there any questions? I mean, it's basically an inflationary increase for the funding.
Everything's inflationary
Yes, sir.
increase right now, trust me. Mr. Turner?
Who cut your funding, Rick? You said you had some funding cut.
Well, that would be the University of North Florida. How they cut it, I'm not exactly sure, but it got cut a little bit. And so the new policy for the SBDCs is that the counties theoretically are putting in $50,000 to get a full-time consultant now. So the increase in funds here, along with what the CRA does, brings it right about to that level.
All right, so clarify that for me. So
Okay, so
University of North Florida wants a $50,000 match.
well, it's the State of Florida Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
Is now requiring outlying counties, I guess is the best way to call it, that they provide $50,000 worth of support to get a full-time consultant. So that's part of the reason for the increase, is that this 22, along with what the CRA provides, comes right to about that.
Did the CRA give you additional funds over last year's amount?
I believe they have, but I haven't been over to check out whether it passed or not.
I haven't really seen that. I'm on the CRA. So I'm not sure. When the SBDC started back long before you've been here,
Yes,
when
sir.
they first started the program, there was a waiver with the university that because we were a smaller county, that we didn't have to come up with the amount of funds that we have to come up with, that they're saying they want us to come up with this year. Personally, I don't know that this program would have ever been started if they hadn't done that. So the county gives them money, the chamber gives them money, the city gives them money, there's multiple funding sources. So are all funding sources raising their amounts, and none of them have cut their amount from last year, but you want the extra $10,000 from Putnam County?
Yes, sir. The chamber just provides the office space. They don't actually provide any of the funding. So it's an in-kind contribution for the office space.
One time they did a little bit of the funding.
It's been a long time, though, I think, since we've been here, been established into the community, and quite a long time, I think, since there's been an increase in the ask.
This is the first time that they've asked the county to increase. How much did they ask CRA to increase?
I believe that went from 20 to 25.
So it's the CRA doing it, not the city itself. It's the CRA doing it.
Yes, sir. The CRA, 25, and then the county was 12, and now it would be 22.
Okay, it leaves you a balance, though, short. Where do you get your other monies?
Well, the 50 is just kind of a figure that they put out there, so it would be a little bit shy, but that's okay. I feel this is a good enough increase. I don't want to increase it too much.
You count your in-kind towards the 50?
No, sir.
No, okay. All right, any other questions?
Can we table this issue to the next meeting? I need to do a little bit of additional research on it.
Yes, sir, we can table it. Commissioner Wilkes, any other?
I agree with that. Where does this funding come from in our coffers, out of the?
Ultimately, it comes from the general fund.
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. Yeah, I would like to see it tabled as well.
So Rick, we're going to table it to to a future meeting. I'm not going to say next, but because we got some questions that we need to answer. So thank you for attending today, okay?
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, next item is our Public Works acceptance of drainage. JR, I guess you got that?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, sir.
Move approval.
We have proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great
Opposed, like sign.
presentation. Thank you.
Well, I think we all dealt with this for a long time. We don't need to hear it over and over
Yeah,
and
we've
over
been trying
again.
to, we've been trying to get this taken
We
care
talked
of
about that one until we about run out of something to talk about.
for years, yeah, to try to,
So it's,
so.
bring that plane in for a landing. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of our agenda is designed to allow the citizens an opportunity to bring matters to attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect the board will engage in debate or deliberations about matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Public comment cards are conveniently located in the back of the room and can be given to Ms. Ashley over to my left, your right. Keep in mind also that it is not expected that the board will engage any type of conversation other than to listen to our citizens and the concerns that they have. Is there any public comment on miscellaneous items? Any public comment on miscellaneous items? And seeing no one rush up, we'll close that portion and go to our clerk of the court, the Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I'll bring up again is the audit. The external auditors have spoken with them. They're still planning on issuing our financial statements this Friday. Commissioner Turner, I had a discussion with them last week to put them on notice again after our discussion the other day about timeliness of next year's audit. So they are well aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. County Attorney, Mr. Rich Commando.
Just that I need to speak with each of you individually about some pending litigation. Shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, but that's all.
So if you can avail yourself to Mr. Commando after this meeting or before the next meeting.
Mr. Commando, can I request to go first? Because I have a canvassing board meeting at 1:30.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'd like to go second.
Okay, 1, 2. All right, we know who first and second is. We'll figure out the rest as we go. County Administrator, Mr. Terry Suggs.
No, sir. I have no comments at this time. If that changes, I'll talk at the 5:05.
I'm glad you're doing well, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Commissioner comments, starting to my left, Commissioner Pickens.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Harvey. Just want to say that it's pretty exciting to go to the grand opening, I guess, of the People One, to see that facility and meet some of the doctors and staff there. And a lot of our staff was there, and a lot of them were making appointments. And so hopefully this is going to work as planned to try to just create a healthier atmosphere for our employees. And also, and I hope that Rich Commando, who's actually the chair of the foundation board, I guess, for St. John's River State College, but I was invited to the groundbreaking for the new student housing that is already in progress. And it will house the flow art students and also student athletes. And that's going to be just a tremendous addition to St. John's River State College. That's been something that's been needed for years, because my brother tells me when the flow art students want to come, their parents want to know where are they staying, where are they sleeping, and also the athletes. So anyway, it's a big move, progress for St. John's, and I commend President Joe Pickens and all of his staff for that. And Rich, I know that you've been heavily involved in that as being on the board, so I'd like for you to make a couple of comments, if you would.
Well, it's actually it's a really good investment in the community and the county and the college. And, the college is growing in different areas where you see different specialties. In St. Augustine, you see the criminal justice. In Clay, you see some of the nursing programs. So to build up BLACA so that the college grows evenly is really what's needed at this time. So the board of directors really kind of champion that cause. And in addition to the student housing, they're investing a good amount of money into the flow arts building to do a remodel. And, it's one of those things that I think is going to pay dividends long past our 10 years here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Adamsack.
I have nothing today.
Mr. Turner?
Yes. The boat ramp at Dunn's Creek, I think we're still in design, but it's getting close. They got the last survey done. That was the outside survey, so hopefully within a few weeks we'll have preliminary, if not final, design on and I'm assuming that the boat that they've started permitting on the ramp itself, but the plan's always been to kind of do it in a two-phase, to do a soft launch type thing along with the parking lot and what have you, and then when the actual ramp gets permitted, then it could be done with the existing funds that will roll over. Also, I want to have that conversation about the connection fees. I think that's very pertinent to what's going on right now. I know at the last meeting we had a conversation about increase in existing fees for water and sewer services and what have you, but I think the next thing we need to do, and Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request it happen at the next meeting, if we have enough time, is that we go ahead and have a conversation about reenacting connection fees for water and sewer to residential and commercial, but exclude the ones that are already on the list or that were already got included in our ARPA, because I understand that we've got more people than we've got money. if I understood JR correctly.
If I may, I think it's really imperative, like in our existing areas where residents are already established. I think we were able to oblige to about 300 connections. We have over 400 people in existing between the ARPA phase and what is existing since 2015, I think, or 2009 when they started running the system. And that number keeps growing every day. And I think that's really imperative. It's in these areas where we already have the very, very small lots that is very difficult to drill in, difficult to put a septic tank in. And as we're following up with our septic to sewer, I think that's imperative that we at least make it affordable to those residents that the system is already sitting in front of their house. I agree with you wholeheartedly in an expansion when we're talking about new development. The one thing I would like to say is even with our current fees, and that's where I think we had to talk about this today to prepare ourselves for the next workshop, is I don't think even if you put that larger development in there, that's already going to take up all capacity of doubling our current sewer system. So that doesn't leave us a lot after that is done that we even have to expand for Commissioner Turner's spot about the commercial development in the area. So as currently we're sitting at $8,000 for an existing tap for the sewer, but that's inclusive of a lift station pump that we supplied that we would put in for them. So that covers, those are today about $4,500 just to buy that thing. So we're going to really talk about what is the county, are we going to put in a standard for allowing somebody to buy a lift station and put onto our system that meets the specification?
No. What I want to talk about is that they pay the $8,000 and then they hire a plumber and they hook up to our system. That way the $8,000, we supply a tap, and that's a future fee on the system of future dollars towards the increase of what was going to cost us to maintain and grow that system. So I know that in the past for $8,000 commercial or whatever, on sewer hookup, we gave them a pump and we hooked it up or whatever. All we've got to do is develop the criteria of what that pump's got to be within that window. I don't care if they buy X, Y, Z, or ABC pump. If they buy it and their plumber fixes it and they do whatever, as long as the pressure, head pressure is in the range that it won't blow up our system. I don't care what brand. So each plumber's going to have their own brand they think's pretty, but they need to hook it up. When somebody comes to town and they open a commercial business or an existing commercial business wants to hook on to our system, then it should be a flat fee for them to hook on. And residential probably not as high, but I'll agree to that because they don't use the facility as to the extent. But there needs to be a fee there too, except for the ones that we already have. And the ones we already have hung up, we probably need to try to figure out a way to fund the ones that are already on the list. I mean, there's like 400. I think we had enough to hook up 300 maybe. So if we've got another 100, let's try to identify that, and maybe we can come up with the money in the new budget formulation for next year perhaps to either that, or we could take some money left over from this year in the true up if we ever get to have one. And that wasn't a hit at you, Julianne. I'm sorry.
I knew you weren't going to let that pass.
I'll be in trouble forever. But anyhow, I think we also need to take some money and fund the ones that we already have through the true up roll forward dollars or whatever. And then we know we're over, we need to go ahead and cut off a list, and then it costs you X amount of dollars for residential or commercial to hook up. So if we could have that discussion, that'd be good.
We can have that discussion.
That's all I had today, Mr. Chairman.
Even if we have to do it on a special workshop, we need to
I
solve
like the
it.
idea of a workshop about
Yeah, we
that.
need to solve that down. Ms. Wilkinson, you have the floor.
Thank you. I did attend the St. Johns River State College groundbreaking for their student housing. That's certainly exciting times in Putnam County. I am ecstatic that we're going to have that opportunity. Also, if you haven't been by, I would encourage you to stop by the Animal Services building. It is moving along. And somewhere underneath that building, I think I have a set of keys. But anyway, I lost. But anyway, when you drive out there, please take the time to go and look at it. Exciting things happening in Putnam County. I also want to thank Public Works for repairing a section of Varden Road that really needed it. There was a bad bump that it was like the Dukes of Hazzard out there for a long, long time, and so I appreciate that. I know it's just a patch, but I appreciate the fact that you've done that. I think there's a couple more pieces out there that you still have to do, so kudos to you guys for getting that done, and to this board for the equipment, because we had to purchase some equipment to get that done, and if we had not been in favor of that, we wouldn't be able to help. And I think that was a big reduction of cost to our citizens. And also, I want to just say thank you to St. John's Pickleball Group. They put out they went out and painted some pickleball courts out in the Bostwick area, at the Bostwick Community Center, and they provided netting and things that could be moved around and not permanent. That way it would be a multi-use. It could be either basketball or pickleball. So now that community has the ability to also engage in some additional outdoor activities. So I wanted to thank them for that. And of course, Ms. Julianne for handling everything that she does. So that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment. I just want to make, be on record that the machine that they used to resurface out there in Barden was the brand-new paving attachment that we purchased to go on the skid steer, and it did not go to District 1 first.
Knew that was coming. Knew that.
We have it scheduled to go second, so.
The only reason why is it was probably needed between here and JT's house.
Oh, Lord, don't say that. Don't say that. That's not good. Okay, thank you for those comments, Commissioner Wilkerson. I want to emphasize something, and I'll be very short. People One, we had a great time and I really had a lot of fun working the window. I've never been able to do that, and that was fun sitting behind the window and just having fun with our employees. But I want to give a little background. I walk into People One. I walk into the office, and the doctor says, "You talked to me. I've already met you." And I went, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, you came out of a chamber function at the Ravine Gardens, and me and my friend looked lost, and you came up and told us all about this community and all the assets you have and all the great things that are going on in the community." I feel like that's our job. Our job is to promote Putnam County at the best of our ability. And she said that really made an impact on her when she made her decision to come here. So anytime that if somebody looks lost or doesn't look lost and you have an opportunity to promote Putnam County, please do so. This area deserves it, and our citizens deserve it. And those are my final comments. We're going to recess this meeting till 5:05, and that'll be our next public. Thank you very much.